on China.
Somebody had to do what we did, and I did a 90-day pause for the people that didn't retaliate, because I told them if you retaliate, we're going to double it. And that's what I did with China, because they did retaliate. So we'll see how it all works out. I think it's going to work out amazing. I think that our country is going to be at the end of a year or shorter, but I think we're going to have something that nobody would have dreamt possible.
So Wall Street responded with massive gains, the Dow ending up 2,900 points, or just under 8%. S&P rose 474, just under 10%. NASDAQ rose 1,800 points, just over 12%. U.S. and Russian officials meeting tomorrow in Istanbul. Russia's newly appointed ambassador to the U.S. says they'll discuss what he calls the toxic legacy of the previous administrations, adding that the relationship between President Trump and Russian President Putin already making it easier to get things done. Here's ABC's Patrick Reevell.
Russia's newly appointed ambassador to the U.S., Alexander Darchiev, was speaking to reporters and said basically that they will focus on trying to restore diplomatic relations, doing things like lifting restrictions on Russian diplomats, also easing the facility, easing the work of embassies, including also discussing potentially the return of embassy buildings that were seized by the U.S.
Trump administration officials now looking into the social media accounts of people trying to get legal residency or student visas in the U.S. They've directed U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services to act immediately in reviewing these social media contents, and they say that it could be a negative factor when applying for those visas. Here in Tennessee, a bill that would allow permit holders carry shotguns and rifles in public is essentially dead for the year. 3 Republicans joined Democrats and voted against it in the Senate Judiciary Committee yesterday, probably for the same reasons top law enforcement officials and others cited during a hearing at the House last month.
It's been a problem in these other states, people carrying around, large rifle, high-capacity style weapons in front of schools, in front of churches, in front of synagogues.
Well, News Channel 5 says the House version of this legislation is still alive, but the defeat in the Senate committee today likely doomed it for the year. A family demanding answers after a grave mishap during a burial. Andrew Denver.
A family in Pennsylvania outraged after this grave mistake at their loved one's burial. Pallbearers were making their way through the cemetery in Philadelphia. Then the unimaginable. As they put down the casket, the platform around the site collapses, sending the men tumbling into the grave.
It was just a horrible incident that happened in a bad moment.
Family and friends rushed to help the men, some of whom were trapped under the weight of the casket carrying Benjamin Aviles. Aviles was eventually laid to rest, but the family wants an apology and a refund for what they say were subpar conditions at the burial site.
That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. Spring Hill Highway Patrol reporting a crash on the right shoulder there at 65 southbound at 840. And in Bellevue, you heard there's a chair in the left lane. TDOT says it's 40 westbound right before Old Hickory Boulevard West. You want to avoid that. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Matt Murphy. This is the Matt Murphy Radio Show. Pleased to be with you. You're invited to be a part of the show today, whether it's listening passively on the radio, 99.7 FM. Perhaps you're listening on your app, whatever app you're utilizing. We thank you for that. We're on all of them. Wherever you are, just look us up, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. You can also find us on Super Talk TV, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch. I haven't said this in a hot minute, but it is my understanding that we have some evaluations on what it's going to cost you to like and subscribe to the YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch. Just to give us the old thumbs up, like us, subscribe to us. Is Weaver back there in the newsroom, by the way, or has he already left to go find that chair in the road?
Yeah, he needed that chair. He told me he was hoping he could get there in time.
Well, do your best, Weaver, and tell us how much does it cost to like and subscribe?
Absolutely nothing.
Yeah, well, I like that. That's pretty good. That like and subscribe. Give us the old thumbs up if you don't mind on the YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch. And is that an easy chair? Do we have any?
Well, I don't know how easy it's going to be to get it out of the highway and get it in your house. But
did you hear what highway it's on? I didn't hear.
I wasn't.
I missed
paying
it.
that close of attention.
I just heard Jay Harper encourage people to, if they need a rest, to go ahead and take themselves a rest in the chair. And then Ken Weaver made reference to it as well. I don't think it's advised for you to stop your vehicle or to get out of it. That's just for those of you in Aniana that might be taking Jay Harper seriously.
That's good advice.
Yeah, I think so. Did you hear, by the way, speaking of traffic, hear about old Hand?
No, what happened?
You didn't hear about Chris Hand?
No.
He got into an accident today.
Oh, really? On the way in?
On the way in. Made it for his show, so I'm not going to give him the holy hell that Mandis on Nashville's Morning News gave him. Mandis was giving him the business for not making it for the, I don't know what they were calling it the crisscross, which is a very unfortunate name.
The handoff or something like that?
I said you should call it the handoff because that makes more sense to me, but they liked and now they're calling it crisscross handoff, which sounds way too much like crisscross applesauce. Whatever. It's Mandis. I don't know what we're going to do with him. Yeah. But, he got rear-ended.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Hand got rear-ended by a gentleman who apparently no speak you to English. That was, Chris tried to communicate with him, and he couldn't speak English. So there, is a general assumption that maybe you shouldn't be driving. And apparently he was asked, and this is what I don't understand. And it's not my business. I talked to Chris before he left after his show at noon. He seems okay. He was going to go see a doctor. As typical in especially rear end situations, your adrenaline is going. And so you feel like you're okay. But then as the day wears on, he apparently was kind of feeling the effects, which you will. I mean, it makes sense.
True, yeah.
So he's going to the doctor, but the guy did not have a license.
Wow.
But did have insurance. Which is odd.
Very.
And when he asked, apparently it was a state trooper. You can tell where somebody's from because Hand, and I love Chris, and my love of Hand is well established. I'm not knocking him, but he called him a highway patrolman.
Well, I mean, technically, he's correct.
It's not incorrect, but is that a northern thing?
Kinda, yeah. I mean, they are called the THP, the Tennessee Highway Patrol, but
I don't know anybody around here that calls them highway patrol.
they're troopers.
They're state troopers.
Yeah,
is what they are. But
yeah. I think that's probably a southern thing.
I think so too.
Yeah.
He said he said he was not knocking the highway patrolman, but he asked the highway patrolman whether or not the gentleman that rear-ended him had a license. And apparently the highway patrolman said no, but that's not relevant. It's like, well, I would think it would be kind of relevant.
Kind of beg to differ on that one. Yeah.
So I told Han that the only way I heard this morning, I was like, well, the only way that makes sense is if the highway patrolman was saying, well, he's at fault either way. It doesn't matter whether he has a license or doesn't have a license. He's at fault because he rear-ended you. I'm trying to give the benefit of the doubt, you know.
Yeah, maybe.
But then they let the guy drive away, which I don't understand at all. I mean, I guess we're just picking our battles now. Is that the way it is in 2025? That if people cannot demonstrate they are who they say they are, or if they don't have any identification or they don't have a driver's license, we're just going to allow them to drive away from the scene of an accident, not knowing whether or not they understand the rules of the road in order to operate a motor vehicle? Is that what we're doing? I guess that's what we're doing. I guess so. One way or the other, that started the day this morning for Hand, and we're thinking about him. And no, don't stop. And hey, Ken Weaver's back, I believe.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Weaver,
yes,
do we know if that's an easy chair or a hardback chair or what?
Well, that's what I was asking Brother Chris. Had Jay, said whether or not it was a recliner and if it had cup holders.
Oh, cup holder. That's a big. That's an important thing. I agree.
That's a biggie. Or maybe a built-in refrigerator.
Oh yeah. Oh, one of those little side jobs.
Yes.
And you pull up and put your cold beer in there.
Yes.
Now, they'd have turned around and picked that one up if they'd have been that nice of a chair.
I would think. My grandpa got real mad when we bought him a lift chair. He was he was like 84. And he started talking about how he was having trouble getting out of his chair.
Yeah.
And he had to work at it. Yeah, he had to when he was way back in his easy chair, he had to like slowly work the ass cheeks to the front of the easzy chair.
Yeah, wobble it up
to the edge, and then kind of tip up. So my brother and I thought, well, we'll get him one of those lifty chairs.
Yeah.
And we did, and we took it to him, and I think it grumped him out.
He didn't like that.
And, he used it though, Ken.
Oh, well, yeah. He
didn't like it. He said he didn't like it.
But he
liked it.
But he used it.
I'd take one of those right now.
That's what I'm saying. I would like,
I'd like to also have one of those bathtubs that you can just walk into.
Open the little door.
Yes.
Walk right in.
I'd take one of those right now.
They can give you one of those in a day, apparently.
You know what the problem is with one of those that they never talk about? Is that you have to wait until the water drains out before you can exit the tub.
Oh.
Or else, you can't open the door. Wow. So that's the only downside of that. You got to sit there and wait on it to drain.
But those things are pretty high, right? I mean, they're pretty up there. I mean, you're sitting in a seat.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
this depends on how much water you're
Well,
sitting.
I mean, that's what I'm saying is that I would think that you'd want warm bath water up to at least the
chest area.
The nips,
Absolutely.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's a lot of water you got to let drain out when it's getting cold and you're
that is
there waiting.
That is one would hope that you'd had a nice drainage going on.
Exactly.
But that's but I don't think that's one of those things. That's like riding the bus. I don't think you do that because you want to. I think you do all of that because you have to.
I'd sit right in it.
Well, you could still sit in a regular bathtub. Though,
I don't like those.
I was. You don't like regular bathtub?
Well, mine's too little. I don't like. I don't like it because it's not comfortable.
Yeah,
whereas if I could just open it up, open a door, and walk right into my bathtub, I'm there.
I tell you, when I was in college, we had one of those old school, big old claw foot.
Oh yeah, cast iron
tubs. There's nothing in the world like that.
Yeah.
So good. Just put hot water in there and just soak, drink beer, lay in the tub all day.
Bathe and drink beer.
I was in a big copper tub one time. That was nice.
Wow.
Yeah. That was a two-party tub.
Oh, yeah.
All right there.
Yes, it was.
We're just going to back right out of that room and tell you that it's 16 minutes after the hour on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Scott writes in and says, I believe this is the first time in WTN history that I've used the host used 2 slang words for body parts in 1 minute. Cheeks and nips.
Cheeks and nips.
It's pretty two solid terms.
I think cheeks and nips would make a good name for a strip club.
I'm sure it's been done.
Probably so.
I Google it, but I'm on the computer at work.
John says, wait for the water to drain while you're freezing to death. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. That would be tough. I mean,
well, that would be something. Yeah.
Let me tell you what I'm getting, though. I'm telling you, in the house that I have, whatever house that is, if housing prices ever go down in Nashville and I'm able to buy a house,
Yep.
a tankless water heater.
Yeah.
Have y'all been in the experience that you've had a tankless water heater in your life?
No.
My brother has one.
My
He loves it.
father-in-law, I was down helping destroy a fence over the weekend, and we got washed out for half of the time, but we were planning on rebuilding the fence around his pool. And they have a tankless water heater, and let me tell you, after a day working outside and you want to, kind of soak what ails you, there's nothing better because they have one of those they have a little seat in there. I don't know what I guess they're Susie's, shaving her legs. I don't know what she's doing in there, but they have a little seat in the bath there, and just to sit out, and you will never run out of hot water.
Yeah.
And you know that. Oh, it's so good, Ken. I mean, it's
that's a good thing.
basically the same as soaking in one of those big tubs, but you don't have to wait for it to drain.
Yeah, I didn't think about that.
Yeah, it's tough. Hope 6210 says you also have to wait for it to fill up. See, there, so that.
Yeah, you got to get in.
You have
then
to
turn the
get
water
in.
on.
Maybe
Yeah.
I don't want one of those.
Yeah.
And you have to sit there.
At least when it's filling up, it's hot, though, right?
I mean, not at first.
Well, no, you don't get
get
in
it
until
hot.
it's hot.
Okay, so you can get in. Yeah, before you plug.
Put the stopper in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you got to sit there.
Still, it's a process.
And then it's
I'd have me a fridge right by it,
it's up to my ankles.
drinking my Coors Light.
It's up to my shins.
My top half's frozen.
Oh.
It's at my nips.
Shut it off.
My back sure is cold. Can I get a shawl? Put a little shawl on while you're waiting for the water to get up to your shoulders. Poor grandma. What happened to grandma? She froze to death. Where? In the bathtub. What happened? She's waiting on the water. Oh, well.
She forgot her shawl.
She forgot her shawl. I think the copper tub is for cannibals? What? No. Well, maybe. I don't.
Oh,
no,
yeah.
don't. Easy.
Yeah.
He already. That's on me. That one's on me.
You got to pre-read those.
I got to pre-read them. I don't think Roger meant. I don't think he meant it. I don't know. But I think the copper tub. Well, we did say it was a 2-person tub. All right. So, Donald, man, we're all giddy with excitement today because of what has gone down in Washington, D.C. We're going to get a few of your telephone calls. Several of you have called in. So if you've missed it, here's the drill. Y'all know what rope-a-dope is?
Tricking somebody.
Rope-a-dope is I don't know that he invented it, but rope-a-dope became famous because of Muhammad Ali. And it was, and y'all correct me if I'm wrong, I'm doing this from memory, but I think it was against George Foreman.
It was.
Where he instituted, because he knew how powerful Foreman was.
Yes.
And he knew how strong and how much dexterity and how much stamina that George Foreman had. And Ali understood that he had to strategize differently, that he could not go toe-to-toe with George Foreman and expect to beat George Foreman. And so he initiated the rope-a-dope, which is a technique where he just leans against the ropes and covers up and just lets George Foreman go to town.
Yes.
Punching him anywhere he wants to, and you just cover up those ribs, and you cover up those kidneys, and you cover up your face, and you just let him go to town and just hit you on the arms and hit you on the back and hit you anywhere he wants to, these non-vital, non-injuring punches. And then eventually, George Foreman punched himself out.
Yes, he did.
He got tired. Got tired of swinging his arms. And Muhammad Ali, when he realized he was tired, he went to whooping on him and beat him. Donald Trump. and the rope-a-dope. He sat there for a week and knew exactly what he was going to do and just waited and waited and waited. And eventually, that little snake popped his head out of the hole, and Donald Trump cut it off. We're going to talk about this in a moment. 21 after the hour on Super Talk. I mentioned yesterday how much trouble pests can be in the home. I mean, some people just get creeped out by them, but they can bring health hazards in with them. And if you've got a pest problem in your home, if you're not satisfied with your current level of pest service, I encourage you to call J.K. and Erica Brister and the gang at U.S. Pest. They provide full and comprehensive pest coverage for you and your family all across your property, in your home and on your property. Full service pest control, termite protection, and crawl space service available at U.S. Pest. Spiders and stink bugs and silverfish and roaches can be a thing of the past. These brown recluse spiders are an extreme danger to you and your family. You don't need that. If you see one, you need to call U.S. Pest. They have preventative and corrective services for termite protection as well, and everything they do is 100% money back guaranteed. Friends, it's time to go ahead and make the call to U.S. Pest. Go online at uspest.com. That's uspest.com. Or tell them Murphy told you to call 590-1260. That's 615-590-1260 for the one and only U.S. Pest.
President Trump hammering China, but rewarding everyone else for good behavior in this tariff war. This story and more coming up at 4:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WDN.
Yes, it's an incredible story. It took a turn today, boy. Matt Murphy Show continues, 426, almost 427, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So let me give you the rundown here, and we'll get to your thoughts and your calls. The tariff tit for tat between the United States and China escalated again today, with the president saying that he's immediately raising the tariffs on Chinese goods to 125% over Beijing's, quote, lack of respect toward the United States of America. Simultaneous to that announcement, he also announced that he was pausing and lowering reciprocal tariffs on all other countries. At some point, Trump said, hopefully in our near future, Chinese will realize that the days of ripping off the U.S. and other countries is no longer sustainable or acceptable. Trump wrote that more than 75 other countries had called U.S. representatives to negotiate a solution to the subjects relative to trade barriers, tariffs, currency manipulation, and non-monetary tariffs. He added that these countries, quote, at my strong suggestion, end quote, have not retaliated in any way against the United States. Trump wrote that his reciprocal tariffs on the other countries would be paused for 90 days, during which the tariff rate would be 10%. On the news, the Dow Jones Industrial Average rose tremendously, almost 3,000 points by the end of the day. Obviously, that is the Dow Jones. The S&P and NASDAQ rose in similar amounts. The move comes just hours after China announced it was increasing its reciprocal tariff on the United States of America from 34% to 84%. Escalation came after Trump's tariffs went into effect shortly after midnight, which imposed a 104% tariff on Chinese goods to the United States of America. Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, said that, this was actually Howard Lutnick who said this. Said Scott Bessent and I sat with the president while he wrote one of the most extraordinary truth posts of his presidency. The world is ready to work with President Trump to fix global trade. China's chosen the opposite direction. Among Trump's tariffs that went into effect early Wednesday also included a 20% tariff on products from the European Union, 24% on Japan, 25% in South Korea. Earlier today, the European Union announced retaliatory tariffs of $23 billion on U.S. goods as countermeasures. So an incredible art of the deal in real time by our president of the United States. Reaction by you. Let's get to Don real quick. Well, Don wants to talk about this illegal alien with no license. Don, what's up? How are you?
Hey, I feel bad for Chris, and it's sad because I've been rear-ended twice now. Once on 24, of course, but the other time on 231 over by Christiana School. The girl hit me so hard, she crushed the whole front of her truck in and ripped the rear end off of my brand new car, and she drove away. I stayed with her, and she finally pulled over, and the cop showed up, and he said they can't do anything to illegal immigrants or anybody without a driver's license that's illegal. They got to wait 5 times before they can do anything. Now, that's you or I.
5 times? Wait, 5 times? What?
5 times they have to be pulled over without a driver's license before they can do anything.
Well, what happens if I just say I don't have a driver's license?
Well, you're an American citizen. You got money. You got a house. You own your car. Guess what? You're going to jail.
I don't understand any of this. I don't understand how we can just give a pass to individuals that don't have identification or individuals that cannot demonstrate that they have basic proficiency in operating a motor vehicle. That's putting the health and safety of other people. What happens, for example, and you know this, I'm not arguing with you, Don, you've got it, and thank you for the call. What happens if after Chris Hand's accident this morning, where Hand was rear-ended by an individual who did not have a driver's license, apparently, could not prove that he understood how to operate a vehicle, Well, after demonstrating that and after getting in an accident, what happens when that person goes down the road and kills someone? Is the state of Tennessee not in some way responsible for that at that point? I would think they would be. More on that in a moment. More on tariff reaction in a moment. It's 31 after the hour on Super Talk.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories, and everyone in Middle Tennessee's under at least a 2 out of 5 risk for severe weather, and that is happening tomorrow. We'll tell you more about it during the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. Stocks ending much higher today after President Trump announced a 90-day pause on tariffs for everyone except China, and he slapped another 125% on top of the tariffs already announced on China.
Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, everybody knew you had to do it, but they never had the guts to do it. It does take guts. It even takes guts for our country to go through it. That's why I say be cool. They were saying about, just be cool. It's going to work out. It's going to work out, and it's working out. I can tell you, working out maybe faster than I thought.
Wall Street responded with massive gains. The Dow ending up 2,900 points, or just under 8%. S&P rose 400 points, or just under 10%. NASDAQ rose 1,800, just over 12%. U.S. and Russian officials going to be meeting tomorrow in Istanbul. Russia's newly appointed ambassador to the U.S., Alexander Darchiev, says they'll discuss what he calls the toxic legacy of the previous administrations, adding that the relationship between President Trump and Russian President Putin already making it easier to get things done. Here in Tennessee, a bill to allow open carry permits for long guns like shotguns and rifles is essentially dead for the year after 3 Republicans sided with Democrats to vote it down in the Senate Judiciary Committee yesterday. And another record for LeBron James. The basketball great has now become the first professional athlete who is male to have his likeness depicted in a Ken doll.
When he became the first NBA player to surpass 50,000 points, LeBron James said it was something he thought about growing up.
I was hoping that someday I'd be able to play at the highest level, and I've been able to do that and really enjoy it.
Did he ever think he'd be a Ken doll, wearing sunglasses, headphones, and a blue and white jacket adorned with LJ on the front? Oh, no, but he does say he was lucky to have role models growing up who showed him what's possible through hard work and dedication. The LeBron James Ken doll goes on sale Monday.
That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. Antioch, police reporting a injury crash, Murfreesboro Pike, just east of Hamilton Church Road. Also in Antioch, 24 eastbound at Harding Place, police reporting a crash there. Spring Hill, Williamson County, Highway Patrol reporting a crash on the right shoulder, 65 southbound at 840. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey, friends, it's Matt Murphy, and one word that comes to my mind when I talk to you about Genesis Diamonds is the word integrity. This is a company that's built on that solid foundation with total transparency and total honesty. First and foremost, you need to know that they don't have commission to salespeople. This gives you a level of peace of mind that they're not trying to sell you a piece of jewelry just because they make money on that sale. They make money regardless, and their employees are paid by Genesis Diamonds, not by you. Secondarily, they share with you the the secrets of the diamond buying industry. They teach you the tricks of the trade. They teach you how to maximize your dollars. They teach you and show you how to buy like a dealer buys. And then at Genesis Diamonds, they don't play pricing games. I mean, the price is what the price is. When they have a sale, it's a real sale. They are rock bottom prices year long at Genesis Diamonds. Plus, they're cutting out the middleman. Ask them about that, too. We're lucky to have Genesis Diamonds here, and I'm proud to be able to tell you about them. Cool Springs and Green Hills. Stop by and see the Genesis Diamonds difference. You'll love the experience when you get there. Trust me. It's Genesis Diamonds. Once again, Green Hills and Cool Springs. All right, your call's coming up, 615-737-9986. Cameron Smith will offer his thoughts on tariffs in the 5 o'clock hour. And then in the 6 o'clock hour, we will get away a little bit from the world of politics and talk to two young men from Duggar Band. You may have heard their names. You may have heard their story. Now we get to hear from them themselves, and they're stopping by in the 6 o'clock hour. Very excited about that. Duggar Band will be here in the 6 o'clock hour, and we'll play their song, True Colors, a song that sadly could not get played on local television because at least at first, local TV said, oh, this is too partisan. It's political. I listen to this song, and I hear that it's patriotic. You can judge for yourself. That's in the 6 o'clock hour. Right now, your calls. Richie is next up in Nashville with a thought on tariffs. What's up, Richie?
Hey, how you doing?
Pretty good, brother. How are you?
Hey, I've been at work all day, of course. I'm on my way home, and I haven't heard anything, and I want your take on it, about all these, what do they call them, panicking, especially the Republicans that were wanting to take away the power of the president for these tariffs because they're all panicking about everything, so they wanted to make limitations on the presidents. What is your take on that, and what have you heard?
Well, Trump coined the phrase the panicins, right?
Yeah.
And he encouraged us all not to be panicins, not to all freak out about some momentary market fluctuation as a result of some of the actions that he's taken. I mean, it was his way of pointing out some of the Republicans that were quick to flee his economic philosophy and his economic proposals because there was momentary market fluctuation. I mean, is that what you're asking, Richie? Like what he meant when he coined the term?
Yeah. I was wanting to know what have you heard? I'm hearing all this great things about how the stock rebounded, what Trump did, and how he was the master of the deal. And what have you heard from the Republicans that were flip-flopping? Have you heard anything?
You know, a little bit too early. I've not seen it. I can try to figure out or look up their immediate social media reaction. I would expect, Richie, that a lot of these folks, I have learned that you doubt Donald Trump at your own peril about these types of things. And even if you don't understand it, and I said the other day that I didn't quite understand why he was raising rates on some countries to 10% as a floor when those rates were not consistent with a reciprocal tariff. I didn't really understand exactly what he was doing. I fully understand it now. I fully understand why he had to do that on so many other countries in order to draw China out. So I have learned over the years not to underestimate Trump and to let things play out before you truly before you pretend to understand what he's trying to do until you see it. So I would think a lot of those panicans are probably hiding in the shadows right now. Yeah, they're going to be quiet for a minute. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I wanted to know. Well, thank you.
Thank you very much, Richie. I also just realized something, Weber. Thank you to Donald Trump. One of our podcasts that we laid down today is now completely dated. Yeah, I mean that's the way that goes. We preload those podcasts, and they're normally like day of, or we try to do them a day out or whatnot. But I realized we did a podcast while all of this was going on about tariffs.
Yep.
And because one of my the podcast is called All the Best Words, I'll just let you peek in behind the curtain. One of my words in one of the podcasts is actually panicans, because I liked how Donald Trump just kind of, came up with a new word. Mm-hmm. Panicans. Yeah. Not Republicans, panicans. That's one of my words. You'll hear it because we're putting it up one way or the other.
I mean, it still applies.
Oh, yeah, absolutely it does. It's a snapshot in time. Just know this. When I'm talking about panicans and when Cameron Smith's talking about portfolios, while we were speaking, Donald Trump was making this master stroke, drawing Canada out with these economic tariffs. In the meantime, Matt in Shelbyville wants to talk tariffs. Hey, Matt.
Hey, Matt, how you doing?
I'm great, my friend.
I have the analogy of Donald Trump is in a submarine, and the stock market is a cruise ship, and this man torpedoed the cruise ship and then go save the people and then gets a hero's welcome. No, and more no. If you wanted to go after China, you could have easily done so without losing $11 trillion in the market. Now, while you say that all you have to do is just hold it out and be cool, what about the people that are not able to be cool? The ones who are retired, and that's their pension. That's what they're on. They don't have the opportunity to be cool since they can't go back and work and get their money back. Where is the accountability for that?
Have you looked at the market today, Matt?
I have looked at the market, and
so tell me how those people are suffering then.
How are they suffering? We have when we make our $11 trillion back because we have not. No. You're demonstrating a lack of understanding of how the markets work. You don't lose that money. Hold on, Matt. The people that have these retirement accounts did not sell out on these retirement accounts. They didn't buy themselves out of those retirement accounts. The value of those accounts went down temporarily as a result of the market dip. The value of those accounts did what today? It went up.
Right. So, and by the way, the stock market is back to the level that it was at in September, and the stock market is up by 4% year over year. So explain to me how they're losing, what did you say, $11 trillion?
$11 trillion.
In value. How did the market lose that amount of money in value then?
You mean overall or just today?
No.
Are you saying that
the market is up? The market is up 4% for the year.
Okay. So what I'm saying is,
you lost money if you sold. By the way, you lost money if you sold, but people that are about to retire didn't sell. People they didn't sell out their 401ks. People that are existing on their 401ks and some of their mutual funds and whatnot, they didn't sell. I understand that they were scared. I understand that there was a moment where a lot of people in the mainstream media tried to convince them that they were about to lose their house. But those perceived losses over the course of a week have been repaired in the market today. And so their values are back.
Let me ask you this. You know that we could have done better. We didn't have to go down that road to begin with. See, this is the art of the deal. It wasn't an art of a deal. It wasn't an art of a deal when you just reversed what you did.
Matt, I think you can figure this out. What has changed this week to last week? What's the biggest thing? And there's a number that I could point to. But for you, I'm trying to lead you one particular place. But okay. What's the biggest thing that's changed last week to this week in terms of this deal? What's the biggest things what comes to your mind?
The biggest thing that happened to me is we have turned around and gone the other way. That's the biggest thing. That's all I care about.
But if you're saying we were at a place and Donald Trump went right back to that same place, but something else has happened. We have 75 different nations that want to come to the United States of America and negotiate better deals for the United States of America in terms of trade tariffs. And many of those nations, I would respectfully advise you, are going to be willing to zero out their trade tariffs reciprocally with the United States of America. That's the point. Everyone's going to pay less as a result. 75 countries, 75 nations are saying, yeah, we'll negotiate.
And you actually believe this?
What do you mean? Believe what? I mean,
first of all, I haven't even seen anything in print or anything that is proven, validated, that 75 countries have wanted to kiss the ring.
You keep not believing. No, hold on, Matt. You keep not believing Donald Trump at every turn. I bet you didn't believe. Now, be honest. It's okay. I mean, differences of opinion are all right, Matt. You didn't believe Donald Trump was going to win the 2024 election, did you?
Yes, I did.
You did.
I did because that the Democratic Party is too many fractions in it. And
all right, that's fair enough.
Yeah.
That's fair enough.
I don't think. I think that he should have ran. I think the Democrats had him by the you know what when the January 6th happened, but they didn't move on it in time, so they get what they get. I'm anti-party. I'm anti-party, and I've said this before, because both parties does not do anything for the American people. They do not. So when you say that they're going to bring the jobs back, they were already here before.
Matt, tell me how on tariffs, how this has been a loss for the United States of America.
The loss of the United States, in one reason and one reason only, is stability. This is not stable. If you turn around and 1 minute you say one thing and the market tanks, the next minute somebody says, "Oh, we're suspending," and everybody.
And you draw China out, that's been taking advantage of the rest of the world all of these many, many years and decades. You draw them out. Okay. You harm them. You create a dynamic by which they're backed into a corner, and now they're going to be forced to negotiate better trade arrangements with the United States of America and the rest of the world. And as an aside, you have over 70 nations that have said they are willing to come to the United States and renegotiate their reciprocal tariff deals in the process. And you don't call that and the stock market has gone up, and you don't call that a win?
You don't have to attack the other 70 countries.
Then you tell me, no, Matt, then you tell me how you would have done it to accomplish those things.
I would, first and foremost, I would have put the tariffs on China. Second of all,
no, wait a minute, hold on. I thought tariffs hurt our 401ks.
No. Hold on a second. I said on China only.
And that wouldn't and you don't believe if we put 200% tariffs on China that would have hurt the stock market too?
I think it would have went down, but I think that the other countries would have offset. No, I don't. I think that it wouldn't be as bad, but we don't have the infrastructure to handle this type of problem immediately. We don't. If you brought all these
Matt, you better buckle up. This is not Sleepy Joe anymore. We're moving. We're changing the rules of the game in real time, and you got to buckle up for this stuff. This is not for the weak. You gotta get ready to go, man, because the rules that applied during the Biden administration or during the Obama administration, they don't apply anymore. We are working to shake up world markets. You're dealing with a guy, and listen, thank you for the call. You're dealing with a guy, Matt, that's not afraid to lose a re-election anymore. You're dealing with a man who understands that he's got about 16 months to change the dynamic around the world as to how our economic situation is in the United States of America. And he is bound and determined to protect this country and to make America great again. You got to buckle up, brother. We're moving at this. I mean, we're going now. 52 after the hour. We're going to do this, and we'll go to calls when we come back, and that'll happen after this on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Stinky, stinky, stinky. That's what it's probably smelling if you are not going to Eurofix. If you go to a normal auto repair shop, you smell the rags, you smell the grease, you smell all that lying around. There's a waiting area that's kind of stinky and stained. I mean, and you know what else stinks? The fact that they keep your car forever. It's not ready when they tell you that it's going to be ready. And oftentimes they're not honest about what happens with your car. Listen. If you're tired of the stink, it's time to get to Eurofix. They take the stink out of European auto repair. At Eurofix, you get a free 15-minute no-wrench inspection with every visit, no high-pressure sales tactics. At Eurofix, you get a 3-year nationwide warranty and a free loaner car with every repair appointment. At Eurofix, you can find 5 separate locations: Franklin, 100 Oaks, Murfreesboro, Belmead, and Mount Juliet. Give them a call. Get yourself to Eurofix today. If you have any issues with your car, it's time for Eurofix. MyEurofix.com. That's MyEurofix.com or 844-EUROFIX. 844-EUROFIX. Tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Eurofix.
President Trump pausing tariffs on everyone except for China. And Tennessee lawmakers have passed a bill that suspends driving privileges for any minor teenager who bullies or cyberbullies others. I'll make it more clear coming up at 5 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Ken Weaver is an absolute treasure in the state of Tennessee.
Checks in the mail.
And I love him. All right, so it's 1 minute until that newscast or thereabouts on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We mentioned that I was a little bit confused. You know, our colleague, our brother from another mother, Chris Hand, got into an accident earlier today. And apparently the driver that hit him in the rear did not have any license. And so, Joe, we've only got about a minute, but it's yours. What do you think about all that?
I think it's a bunch of BS.
Me too, Joe.
About a year ago, I got pulled over because my lights were off, and it was just right at dark. Anyways, I had got a seatbelt ticket prior to that, and I forgot about it, forgot to pay the ticket. They suspended my license. Well, when I got pulled over that night, because my license was suspended, I went to jail for 3 days. And
You went
joker,
what?
This joker's going to hit him with no license?
Well, and get nothing at well, Joe, I got to go, but I'm going to talk about this a little bit in the 5 o'clock hour because apparently the officer ended the conversation by kind of threatening Hand, saying, hey, you've got to deal with this within 2 weeks, otherwise your license gets suspended. And it was weird. Weird. Speaking of weird, Cameron Smith's coming up next on Super Talk.
Five o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. We are looking at a level 2 out of 5 risk for severe weather. Got the timeline and all the things that come with it during the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. President Trump pausing tariffs on everyone but China while hosting an event for racing champions from NASCAR, Indy, and IMSA today. He said everyone was told not to retaliate, but China did, and now they're facing an additional 125% tariff.
We have a tremendous amount of spirit from other countries, including China. China wants to make a deal. They just don't know how quite to go about it. You know, it's one of those things they don't know how quite. They're proud people. And President Xi's a proud man. I know him very well, and they don't know quite how to go about it, but they'll figure it out. They're in the process of figuring it out, but they want to make a deal.
Pause is for 90 days for negotiation for everyone but China. U.S. and Russian officials meeting tomorrow in Istanbul. Russia's newly appointed ambassador to the U.S., Alexander Darchiev, says they'll discuss what he calls the toxic legacy of the previous administrations, adding that the relationship between President Trump and Russian President Putin's already making it easier to get things done. Here in Tennessee, Channel 10 in Knoxville says the legislature passed a bill that suspends driving privileges of teenage bullies or cyberbullies for a year. Any teenage bully who has yet to get a license will have to wait a year. An amendment was added that says a judge can make exceptions to let violators travel between specific destinations like from home to school, places of employment, or church services, but not just wherever and whenever they want. The bill passed without debate in the House on April 7th. It was passed in the Senate today, and without any votes against it, it's headed to the governor for him to sign into law. And a bill to allow open carry permits for long guns, like shotguns and rifles, is essentially dead for the year. 3 Republicans sided with Democrats to vote it down in the Senate Judiciary Committee yesterday for some of the same reasons top law enforcement officials and others testified about during a hearing in the House last month. When News Channel 5 says Tennessee Department of Safety's Legislative Director Elizabeth Stroker said people will be too frightened seeing other people with long guns standing outside of churches or in stores.
And law enforcement's response will have to be, they are lawfully doing that, they have to stay there.
Now, the House version of that bill, according to News Channel 5, is up for a hearing as soon as today, but the defeat in the Senate has likely doomed it for the year. A dramatic rescue of an Illinois firefighter during a house fire caught on camera. Here's Rhiannon Alley.
Newly released body camera video captures the moment a home in Christopher, Illinois exploded, collapsing the porch roof and trapping firefighter Richard Jackson, already there responding to a fire. First responders and Good Samaritans rushing in to lift debris from the explosion off of him.
All I could see was legs and faces and hands grabbing a hold of me and pulling me out.
Somehow Jackson suffered only minor injuries.
That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. Antioch police reporting a crash, Murfreesboro Pike, just east of Hamilton Church Road. Over on the west end, we got a crash, West End Avenue, west of Bowling Avenue. In Madison, 65 northbound before Old Hickory Boulevard. And then in Christiana, Rutherford County, a stalled vehicle on the right shoulder, 24 eastbound, just past Epps Mill Road. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Already some predictions about Cameron Smith and how he's going to come in hot. I don't know.
Yes.
I don't know. But probably not about what they think.
No.
We'll discuss momentarily. My name is Matt Murphy. This is the Matt Murphy Radio Show. Talking tariffs. We're talking, I've got two people on the phone that want to talk about tariffs and one guy on the phone that wants to talk about bathtubs. I mean, that's the type of show that it's been so far. We're halfway home at 7 minutes after 5, coming up in the 6 o'clock hour. Duggar Band. I don't think it's the Duggar Band. Maybe it is the Duggar Band. We're going to find out together. I know their names are Jordan and Seth, and they are Jordan and Seth Duggar. It's either Duggar Band or the Duggar Band. I like to consider this Murphy Show, not the Murphy Show, although I say it both ways. And I get picked on incessantly by Dan Mandis of Nashville's Morning News about that. One way or the other, They're coming up in the 6 o'clock hour. If you've not heard their story, it's pretty incredible. And we've got the song for you. It's called True Colors, the song that blew up on the internet after a local television station decided that they didn't want to play it because they thought it was too political. Political to talk about believing in the old red, white, and blue. So we'll do all of those things in the next 2 hours. Hello, Cameron.
Hello, sir.
How are you?
I feel like I've seen you today.
I do. We did. I have pulled the curtain back a little bit, in as much as we dropped a couple of All the Best Words podcast.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't drop them. We recorded them. One of them will drop tonight, and I think we need to go ahead and do. I think we need to go ahead and do Portfolio and Panicking tonight, because
caterwauling.
Oh, no, that's right. It was caterwauling.
No, that was for due process.
That's right.
You're right. You're right. You're
no,
right.
It's Portfolio. And those are the 2 best words that you'll hear tonight, dropping at 7 o'clock. If you've not already followed, liked, subscribed, whatever you do on whatever platform you use, please do that. It's up on the YouTubes and a variety of different, visual channels. And then, of course, audio platforms at 997WTN.com. It's called All the Best Words. I say all the best words.
I write all the best words.
And together it's all the best words. Thank you for Donald Trump making one of our podcasts already dated. And I kind of pulled the curtain back. I was like, as we were recording the podcast about tariffs, Donald Trump was completely changing the story about tariffs.
Yes. He has a tendency to do that, man. I don't know if you've noticed this. He'll do a thing and then
undo a thing and then redo a thing. And then I have long said, Cameron, and I think I talked about this on the podcast. If not, we've talked about it in the past, that I don't pretend that Donald Trump is Bobby Fischer all the time.
Right.
I don't pretend that he is 14 moves ahead all the time. I also don't pretend that he's Forrest Gump all the time, that's just wandering through the wilderness and doesn't know what's going on. But I will say, like Forrest Gump and Bobby Fischer, he seems to always come out on the winning side of things. He's somewhere on that spectrum, but I don't know how he manages to do this. But tell me if you have a different assessment, but I feel like he kind of cornered China and put them over here, and the rest of the world is kind of over here in another place, and I feel pretty good about that.
Yeah, he's finally, we got a little clarity today. And I saw it on X and everywhere. Everybody's like, yeah, so it is about China. And that makes sense. And it's one of 2 paths, right? The 2 paths were these are strategic tariffs, leveraging strategic interest. This is what we want to do. Or these are like long-term tariffs as a tax revenue scheme.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like it's the former.
Right.
And so that is really encouraging. The market went up 30 billion points today. I mean, just went through the roof. And it was because he put a pause in. I mean, huge market day. And so everybody that was a panicking all jumped back in simultaneously.
Don't be a panicking.
I suspect everybody's going to be all right.
I think I like the creation of this word by Trump.
Yeah.
Because it, if you're not a Republican, you're a panicking, but you're also a panicking.
Mm-hmm.
Get it?
Well, but people lie all the time with their words. They don't lie with their money. And so when they're nervous, they run from the market. And everybody tells people, don't run from the market, because if all of you run simultaneously, it crashes the market.
And that's what they did anyway.
Every time. Like when we have crashes, that's what happens. People get nervous, they bail. I'm telling you, some people made a lot of money saying, hey, tariffs, these are going to spook the markets. They bailed and then boom, jumped right back in.
Buy low, sell high. That's my understanding.
Absolutely.
My understanding on how you do this. Now, I understand that there were a few people that were caught up in this in a way that did hurt them. And I don't want to just, celebrate and say, oh, look at what he did here. He rescinded some of the tariffs, or at least put a pause on the tariffs, and that's awesome because the markets responded and he isolated China, and it was all about China all along. I mean, we can celebrate that fact and still recognize, there were a couple of people. I found someone over on the super text line that said that they are a Trump supporter, but they were one of those individuals said, well, I'll read it to you. Unfortunately for me, as someone preparing to retire, my advisors set up our date for me to transfer 401k into an IRA last Thursday that applied Friday. I've been scared to look to see how much it dipped in the day that it cashed out. But it is what it is. I'm with Trump. I understand his plan will be good long term for our country and our children, et cetera. So, but that's a person that probably got caught in that momentary dip as a result of what he was trying to do, and they got hurt by it.
The only people that really got hurt here were people that got spooked, cashed out as it was down, and said, I can't afford to lose anymore, and then missed the upswing. I mean, that is a significant loss, right?
Yeah, sure.
And so you shouldn't minimize that. But also, markets are one thing, prices are another. I'm really glad we're pausing the tariffs across the board except for China. But the China tariff that is 1,000,000 billion %, it's going to matter. Like, you're going to go to the store, the made in China stuff is going to get real expensive real fast, or it'll just be gone. People will say, stores will say, we can't carry this because nobody's going to pay, $20 for Chinese socks.
I don't know what China does at this point, though. I think they blink. I mean, maybe they don't.
I think for them, you got to understand, they're a command and control economy. They're very much saying, we don't want to be dependent on these guys any more than they want to be dependent on us. The question for them is, where are they? You and I looked this up earlier. Where are they going to plug the $400 or $500 billion revenue hole, or I shouldn't say revenue hole in terms of economic activity in their economy? Where are they going to get that from? Are other countries going to pick up the slack to the tune of $500 billion? That's a lot of money, man. So it'll hurt them.
It will, and by all accounts, it also creates a dynamic by which nations have to kind of figure out where they're going to go on this. Are you going to be? I mean, he's clearly defined. You either come with us and negotiate with the United States of America. You don't want to stick around with China. Look at them; they're now they're kind of the lone actor in this tariff game. I think he drew them out, and it makes sense if that was the goal all along.
Yeah, and
it's still. I mean, I don't pretend that it is not a dangerous game, because you are playing with people's lives. You're playing with money, and that's a dangerous thing. I think it makes a lot more sense that Donald Trump was reacting the way that he was reacting. If this was the play, he's like, "Don't be a panicking, be cool, stay cool."
He sounded like my teenage son, which was hilarious. It's like, "Be cool, bro. Be cool,
Hey,
chill,
bro, chill now."
And it's
come on, my guy. Are the kids saying "my guy" now?
No, it's more like bruh.
I was around a group of people over the weekend. I was playing poker.
I've heard "my guy,"
and this dude would not stop saying "my guy."
Yeah,
my guy, and I'm like, stop
weird.
it. I felt like an old man.
Is he a Trump supporter from the north?
I don't know.
My guy.
What you doing, my guy? Why you going all in, my guy?
Yeah. It's like MAGA, but north.
Shut up. Patrick writes in and says, reaction to the tariff announcement today, lack of surprise, excitement on my part, simply because I was not surprised or excited when he instituted the initial tariffs. Trump plays chess. The rest of us playing checkers. We've heard that. I figured he had some kind of plan. He was just sitting back to implement it. First, I'm a huge fan of Cameron. I love it when he's on the radio. That said, I remember Cameron very clearly stating that this was an unforced error by Trump. Does he still stand by that, or does he believe that there was perhaps more strategy involved?
So I conceded and already did the strategic use of tariffs, especially for a national interest situation like we have with China. Okay, I can roll with that. I still oppose tariffs as policy. Tariffs are terrible economic policy if they're designed to be permanent. It does not appear that's where we are. So, okay.
I feel like Donald Trump realizes more than any president, at least in my recent memory, especially in his second term. I think Trump wasn't about to do this type of thing during the first term. He wanted to get reelected.
Right.
But now that he recognizes that
he's a short timer in terms of the window.
Right, and he's got 12 to 16 months to make all of this happen and to come out good on the other side. Otherwise, Republicans are going to take a wash in the midterms.
Yeah.
That said, I feel like he looks at a situation and says, okay, where are we? What's our strength? What do we have that we can use as leverage against what we want. And what we have is a lot of money. And I mean, we have a lot of different strengths. And he utilizes and leverages that money and our ability to kind of throw our weight around in terms of, hey, we'll tax, and our consumption. Our consumption, he has turned it into a strength when it comes to using tariffs as a negotiation as opposed to a part of his long-term policy strategy.
Yeah, and I'll give him credit for that a lot of presidents have not actually acknowledged that we're the economic juggernaut in the room. They have not leveraged.
Because we want to be humble.
Right. It's like, we don't have to be grandiose about it. We just have to say we buy a lot more than everybody. You know, we are, so free trade, free economics, like that sort of theory, this is the Milton Friedman school, F.A. Hayek, like, hey, less government intervention, more free markets, has really grown our economy. The crazy thing is some of these countries now have to be looking at their own tariff policies and saying, guys, is maybe this like a bad idea? Like, we shouldn't do that. The Americans, they didn't do it. And they pointed out that we were. And maybe this is better for everybody if we actually just compete.
And in the short term, we'll maybe lose some of that money incoming, but in the long term, we gain through economic growth.
Yes, that's the whole point. Tariffs are bad policy for them, too.
Marvin wants to talk tariffs, as does Marie. Larry wants to talk about tubs, so I'm going to go to Larry first because he's been holding longest. Hey, Larry.
Hey, Matt, and thanks. Hank and Crackhead say hello. And originally I called because I think this might be the first time in history that I've disagreed with you, Brother Ken, and with Sir Chris. You guys need to experience an air bathtub. You can look it up. We ain't going to go into all that right now. But the stuff that happened with Chris Hand this morning, if that had been me, you, Brother Ken, Chris, Dan, whoever, and we had gotten into an accident and the THP showed up and we did not have a driver's license, our vehicle would have been towed and impounded. The THP officer let this guy drive away with no freaking license.
Yeah, I don't get it. And there's a gap in my understanding about why that would be. And I don't pretend to understand as intimately as Hand. He went through it. He was the guy rear-ended, but he lived through it. But as he described the story to us this morning and to me today as I was coming into work, he said that the officer, he asked if the guy didn't speak English. He doesn't know if the guy was here legally or illegally, and it's not right. I mean, I think we can make assumptions, but I don't want to assume anything. It is possible that he was not here legally. Possibly he was. One way or the other, he asked the officer if the guy had a license, and the officer said no, but
yeah, that's irrelevant.
That's irrelevant. And then he let the guy drive away, and I don't understand how that – my question is this. I'm not blaming the officer. I'm not blaming the policy. I just don't understand the policy. How does that not make the state of Tennessee and the Highway Patrol on the hook if that guy drives away without a license, you know that he doesn't have a license, and he goes and kills someone? How is Tennessee not partially responsible for that death because they let a guy that they knew did not have a license drive a vehicle away from a scene?
Exactly. So the next time you talk to Scott Sapicki, let's ask why.
Yeah, I'll try to get an answer sooner than that. I mean, I think we have enough knowledgeable people who are familiar with all of this that perhaps we could get an answer with regard to why that would be. And you said air bathtub. Is that what you said?
Yes.
Are these the inflatables? Are these the blow up bathtubs?
No.
Oh, okay.
These are the little bubbles.
It is a solid tub, but instead of a jacuzzi, it blows out air bubbles like at 1 million in it. And I mean, I'm only 6'1", but I could fill mine up in very, very short time. And you can, select the amount of bubbles you want or whatever.
More the better, buddy.
And, oh yeah. So I always went for the 1 million.
Yeah.
I like to think I'm in radio and I'm at all that money.
Where do you like those bubbles the best, Larry?
Dude, all over.
It's a hell of an answer. It's a good answer.
Look, they would fill me up to my neck. and then there's this little pillow you could rest your head on while you're just sitting in there.
All the bubbles. Like taking a bath in a bathtub full of champagne. Thank you, Larry.
I'm not going to lie. I'm hearing Larry's voice, and I'm picturing a pillow with the bubble, and they don't match. Like, it's just a real interesting thing happening there.
Trust me, it's a lot worse if you've met Larry.
Okay.
And know what he looks like.
Okay.
That big old wet beard and long wet hair. And him mumbling about the bubbles.
I'm picturing the tub looking like a cattle trough.
Absolutely, 100%. Just with a lot of farting going on inside.
Oh, my goodness.
It's
Extra
23 after the
bubbles.
hour. Extra bubbles, 23 after the hour in Super Talk. Hey, friends, it's Matt Murphy. And, I had the laser treatments at We Grow Hair. And for those of you that watch on Super Talk TV, sometimes you're like, well, Murphy, you don't look like you need laser treatments. Exactly. That's because I've had them. And there was a little thinning going on in the back of my hair. And I didn't realize this. And I was taught this at We Grow Hair, the PAI medical folks, that you lose up to 50% of hair before you notice the thinning. That's how much hair you truly have on your head, that you can lose that amount without recognizing it. So the process has gotten well underway by the time you realize it. Well, I didn't want that to happen to me, so I went to the We Grow Hair people. I had the laser treatments, and friends, it has been fabulous. No one else in Tennessee has the ARTIS robotic FUE procedure, the multi-unit hair grafting procedure. These are giving you 2 times more hair per treatment than anybody else in the market today, and these results are guaranteed. And the PRP laser treatments for busy men or for busy ladies, in and out in 45 minutes. Your confidence, your self-esteem, it will all go up thanks to PAI Medical and the We Grow Hair folks. Find out more at WeGrowHair.com. That's WeGrowHair.com. Give them a call at 615-376-6010. That's 376-6010. Tell them Matt Murphy sent you to We Grow Hair.
Did you know you're overpaying for your health and wellness products?
With over 20 company-owned brands offering its members vitamins, supplements, wellness, and skincare products, you're able to save up to 70% off retail.
Members Nutrition can't change your life, but we can change the way you live.
President Trump pausing tariffs on everyone but China, and two Middle Tennessee parents considering a lawsuit after they say their 3-year-old son was thrown around at daycare. The daycare worker says she's considering a lawsuit. We'll tell you about it at 5:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Watching the reaction on the part of the political left with regard to what went down today, Donald Trump rescinding, at least temporarily, pausing, I think that's their word, pausing the tariff talk. I think he reset the tariffs at 10% for every nation but China. And China's tariffs, I've seen that they're at 125%, or they went up 125%. I think they were already at 104%. So I want to say they're at 125% now.
A million bajillion.
Percent. Don't buy things from China. That's what we're being told. In the meantime, Cameron Smith of the Tennessean is with us. You can read Cameron Smith over at the Tennessean. He's one of the reasons to go over there. There are maybe a few more, but not many. Marie is next in Nashville. Hey, Marie.
Hi, Matt. I agree with most everything you always say. I'm a true conservative, and I agree with you. Trump is a master negotiator. He can budge when he needs to, but with this China, no, he doesn't have to budge. We've all been doing that. President after president after president has been budging for them, has been all talk, no action. I am so happy to have a leader and a president of the United States of America that actually is getting this done. He is brave. And the reason he can be brave, and I want all the listeners, everybody to listen, the reason he can be brave is because behind him, he has the strongest military, the baddest guys and girls in the world, our equipment, our air power, our ships, every part of our military, he has backing him up. And when you have power like that behind you, we should be able to get anything we want because we deserve it. We protect these countries. We go to battle for these countries. They have our security, but we need something now. And I agree with you, Matt. We have to stick with him. We voted, and when we all voted for him, he told us exactly what he was going to do, and we still voted for him. So let's stick with him now, stick through the hard times. It's like marriage, for good, for bad, in sickness and in health, till death do us part. And that is where we all need to be in this country. Thank you.
Why, thank you, Marie.
Or, the end of a term, not death. I don't want to die.
No.
But
we're going to, but I don't want to die anytime soon.
Nope.
It is 30. We're late. 32 after the hour on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Everyone in Middle Tennessee under a level 2 out of 5 risk for severe weather got the timeline and all the things that come with it during the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. President Trump pausing tariffs on everyone but China. He's also raising tariffs on China by 125% for retaliating.
No other president would have done what I did. No other president. I know the presidents. They wouldn't have done it. And it had to be done. What was happening to us on trade, not only with, if you look at it, not only with China, but China was by far the biggest abuser in history, and others also. But somebody had to do it. They had to stop because it was not sustainable.
Trump says more than 75 other countries who did not retaliate have called to make a deal, and that is the purpose for his 3-month pause for negotiation. Meanwhile, stocks soared today. In Middle Tennessee, 2 parents are furious after they say video from their daycare shows their 3-year-old son being thrown to the ground by a worker at the Stay, Learn, and Play childcare in Old Hickory. Channel 4 spoke with the parents, Natalie and Ray Thompson, and the worker, 21-year-old Kendrail Harris.
I definitely don't want, the employee that this happened with to ever be able to work with kids again, essentially. I don't feel like she should be caring for anyone's kids if you're going to care for them that way.
I mean, all I can say is I'm sorry that had happened. Yes, I was maybe a little frustrated in the situation, but I didn't intentionally to hurt a child, or I didn't hurt the child.
Well, Harris was fired and arrested. The parents and Harris say they're considering lawsuits. Right now in Missouri, a foster mom under investigation for allegedly abusing a teenager and then trading her for an exotic monkey. It's unclear how old the teenager is. Court records indicate she's under 17. NBC says the foster mom charged in the case, 70-year-old Brenda Deutsch, had fostered more than 200 children over the years. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. All right, Belmont got a crash blocking the left two lanes, 440 westbound past Hillsborough Pike, 21st Avenue. In Madison, police reporting a crash 65 northbound before Old Hickory Boulevard. And over on the West End, police reporting a crash West End Avenue west of Bowling Avenue. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
You know, I talk to people all the time, and they tell me, Murph, it's just the way the world goes now. When you call your doctor, you're going to have to wait a couple of weeks before you get in because that's just the way things are. And I say, no, it is not. I encourage you to look up Grace Point Healthcare and see that you can have affordable, convenient, and comprehensive medicine on your schedule, not on anyone else's. Friends, it's Matt Murphy, and I'm here to tell you about Grace Point Healthcare. They are a direct pay primary care provider. You understand exactly what you're paying up front, and it is oftentimes considerably less than any place else that you have been when it comes to the overall charge of your care. Frankly, the basic Smart Care plan is just dynamic. It's $69 a month, and you get unlimited office visits throughout the course of the year, plus free basic labs and diagnostic testing. Ask them about that. In addition, no long wait lines at Grace Point Healthcare. No worry about getting into the waiting area. You know, obviously, if you've got a cold or if you've got the flu or if you've got a sickness, you want to get into your doctor now. And sometimes you're too sick to go to the doctor. Don't worry. They make house calls at Grace Point Healthcare. Grace Point treats the whole body. They don't let pharmaceutical companies or the insurance industry get in the way of your treatment. As a matter of fact, it's why they say they are modern medicine delivered the old-fashioned way. Call 599-6868 to find out more. 599-6868, located in the heart of Franklin. Schedule your next medical appointment with Grace Point Healthcare. Man. This is why you should not close out nincompoop stories. I'm going to have to go last.
Mess up, did you?
I closed it out and I can't find it again.
Well, just type in the highlights.
Go to your browser history.
Thank
Drunk
you.
and naked.
That's what we're talking about. History. Let's go to history. Oh, my goodness. I'm a little embarrassed to see what I've been looking up here. Oh, yeah. I got it. Thank you. That's very good. You're going to regret that when I win nincompoops in the news.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, the story's back up again. I closed it out earlier because I was worried that this particular webpage, sometimes if I got my laptop and I don't have it plugged in, then it's draining the old laptop. You know how that goes.
I do.
And you worry because some of these websites, they're just repeatedly running videos and everything that kind of sucks your power down. But I got it back up and running. I'll tell you what, Marvin, real quick on the very serious topic of tariffs and then the not so serious topic of nincompoops. Hey, Marvin.
Hey, Matt. First of all, thanks for taking the call, brother. Appreciate what you, Dan, Chris, Ryan, all of you do. Appreciate listening to the show.
Thank you.
All I'm going to say about the tariffs is, look, I voted for Trump. I'm a Trump supporter. I don't agree with all his policies. Nobody will ever agree with everybody all the time. The American people voted for the man. Get the liberals out of the way. We voted to get him in there to do a job. Let him get the job done so we can get this country straight again. That's all I got.
Love it. I mean, and I think, for the most part, that's what's happening. There's a razor-thin majority in the House. I do not see enough activity in the House of Representatives. I don't see what I want to see through codification of some of these executive orders that can easily be challenged or overturned if somebody else is in the White House.
Yeah, and think about it this way. Imagine all the vacancies that are being created by DOGE. When there are all these layoffs, these, probationary employees gone, and then all of a sudden, let's just say, because it's still a divided country, that a Democrat gets in office, now we have the most liberal federal government in the history of our country if Congress doesn't act and lock this stuff down. It's dangerous.
Yeah, because they will rehire all of those people, and every single one of them will be left of center.
Do you think Gavin Newsom would blink for a minute to hire every single opening there?
Right.
Of course not.
And federal deficit, be damned. Federal debt, what?
They don't care. They've never cared about the deficit. That's not a thing.
No, it's the big exposure of Doge, and you and I have talked about it, that, for years I thought you could find common ground by saying, well, we both agree that, we need to eliminate waste, fraud, and abuse in the federal government. And liberals would shake their heads and say, yes, they never meant it. They don't really mean it. They don't care about it, any of it.
Hands off, Matt. Hands off.
Hands off my government. Hands off my $37 trillion in debt.
Right, which is the creepiest, weirdest thing to say ever.
It's a weird protest, but you know what? It's their movement. Let's not get in the way. Let's let them go. You know what those people are? You know what they are?
I do know. I
know.
Nincompoops in the news.
That's right. It's that time of day, 43 minutes after the hour. You know what the news is. It's time to find the nincompoops all across this great state of Tennessee, all across the United States of America and the globe.
Florida.
Ken Weaver, Chris Weber, Cameron Smith on these Wednesdays, and Matt Murphy. We find these nincompoops where they live and breathe. It's a four-way nincompoop in the news battle to be decided by you on the super text line. Cameron, you can, you were so gracious to fill in for me Friday and Monday, and I thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you'd like to go first, you may, or you can go last. It's dealer's choice.
If y'all are not going to tell me that, this is nincompoop has already been named, happened last time.
All right, if that is the case, everybody watching on Super Talk TV will see our expressions change, but we won't say anything.
Fair.
Okay.
This is a fun one. I always go with Florida man. What began as a blissful afternoon in the Florida sun ended in agony when a Jeep Wrangler suddenly barreled over a man lying on the beach, police said.
Wow.
He sustained serious injuries, including a broken femur, fractures in his right forearm, third-degree burns, and a cracked pelvis.
Third-degree burns?
Man.
Oh, my goodness.
This is the best part.
Exhaust, maybe?
The driver.
Catalytic converter? I'm sorry, go ahead.
The driver, identified as a 61-year-old woman, was attempting to back into a parking spot on the beach and accidentally crossed over travel lines.
Goodness.
Wow. That's not good.
I just got a Jeep a couple weeks ago, the victim told Fox 35, as to why he visited the beach that morning. It was something he wanted to do. Quote, all of the sudden a tire was going over my head. I'm just laying face first, just crying and screaming.
Oh, my goodness.
Man.
He's lucky
lucky he was on the sand.
On the sand. That's
Yeah.
what I was thinking.
Yeah. So
Got to get a little smush in there.
You know, she got a little over the parking lines. And there you go.
A little bit.
Just a little.
You know what this story reminds me of, Cameron?
What?
Jingles, the dog. Jingles, one of my childhood dogs. Jingles got run over by my grandpa's work truck.
Oh, I thought you said Jingles could drive a car.
No, Jingles could not drive. Jingles survived, though. Ran over her, just boom, boom. And we thought Jingles was dead, smooshed. The ground, much like the sand, it was saturated because it had rained for a few days, and the ground sunk in, and Jingles survived. Like this dude.
Yeah. My dad ran over my foot, and my foot was fine, but my toenails fell off.
What?
Yeah.
But
permanently? Or
No, I've got toenails, Chris. Thank you. Temporarily.
May I suggest that if your toenails fell off, that is the definition of your foot not being fine?
Well, it's still there, you know?
I mean, I understand that, but it wasn't like AO.
It was not. It didn't break it, oddly. It just smashed it real good.
Ken Weaver, you ever lost a nail, toe, finger, or otherwise?
No, never have.
Yeah? How about you?
I haven't, but my dad's, one of his big toenails is probably 1.5 inches thick.
Ew.
Because when he was a kid, one of his, I think it was his brother, was swinging a belt, and the buckle end of it smashed down on his big toe.
Oh, wow.
And he's got just really disgusting feet to begin with, my dad does. But this toenail, holy crap, I've never seen anything like it. It's really dark and really thick.
Your pop ever tune into the show, does he?
Yes, he does.
Oh, well, hey, Dad.
Yep.
That was Weber that said that. We don't know
Mr.
anything
Weber,
about
I'm sure your feet are lovely.
I'm sure they're very fine.
Oh, you wouldn't say that if you saw him.
Quick story.
You ever seen a caveman?
Just about losing fingernails. My grandpa was a mechanic all of his working life, and he was working on a power takeoff, which is, it's an engagement mechanism that runs bush hogs on the back of tractors, and it's a spring-loaded device where you can pull it back and pull it forward. He got 2 of his fingers. He was working on it, and it was engaged, and it disengaged and clamped down on the spring on his fingers, which was incredibly painful. He had to he was by himself. He had to carry a 150-pound power takeoff with one arm to his vise so that he could get his fingers out of there.
Wow.
So, the next day, I was at the house, and he said, come on, boy, I need your help with something. And we went out to his little shop at his house, and he had bandages around his fingers, and he unbandaged them, and they were huge, and they were purple. And I said, what are we doing, Pa? And he said, I got to have relief. Ooh. And he used his drill press, and he put he got me to put a very, very small bit into his drill press.
I don't want to hear the rest of this.
Through the nail?
Oh, yeah. He just, and he just tap it and tap it and tap it, and then it went.
Oh.
It's awful.
Man.
My grandpa was kind of a nincompoop himself. Ken Weaver, nincompoops in the news, sir.
All right, boys. This is out of Clearwater, Florida.
It is.
Sir, this is an Applebee's.
Oh, boy.
A drunk man wearing a pink wig, fake breasts, and a pink thong was arrested Friday for causing a disturbance outside the chain restaurant. Cops say 49-year-old Daniel Ceriello was so drunk he couldn't provide for his own safety and well-being as he was stumbling around the Applebee's parking lot in that pink thong.
Thong?
Yeah, thong.
Woo!
Thong, the thong, thong, thong.
Ceriello tried to get in somebody's car. Wasn't his.
As you do.
He was probably cold.
Yeah, it was chilly down there. Now, when questioned by deputies, Ceriello was unable to answer basic questions such as where he was, where he came from, what state he was in. He was arrested for disorderly intoxication, booked into the county jail where he switched the pink thong out for an orange jumpsuit.
Yeah. Woohoo! There he did.
Following a night in jail, Ceriello was freed from custody after pleading to the misdemeanor charge. He was ordered to pay $570 in fines and court costs. and told not to come back to the Applebee's.
The last thing I remember is telling that bartender to keep them dollar margaritas coming.
Oh, my goodness.
I don't know what's in these Long Island iced teas, but they sure are tasty.
And you got to wonder where the underwear came from.
You know, he probably didn't know the answer to that question either.
At least he had some on.
Where'd you get those?
Yeah.
Don't know.
And what about the fake breasts? What do they look like?
What about them?
Do they have fake breasts?
Do they exist?
Yeah, I'm going to look them up.
Yeah.
While you do that, I'm going to go ahead and, in the interest of time, tell you that a Chinese restaurant has been forced to close its doors in Madrid, Spain, after it was raided by local police who made a discovery when they inspected the eatery's roast duck.
Oh, no.
This is not going to end well.
The Jin Gu restaurant in Madrid's Usera district was found to be a little dishonest in terms of labeling their roast duck. Grim police footage from inside the restaurant showed leathery strips of meat hanging from a clothesline inside of the kitchen in vile conditions. Other clips showed bags of discolored meat along with bowls of plucked and cooked animal. They were selling roast duck, but it was actually pigeon.
I was going to say pigeon.
Oh, man.
The restaurant, prior to closing, had excellent reviews. But within a few hours of customers leaving, they reportedly began to feel discomfort. Madrid municipal police officers received complaints about the restaurant when they before raiding it on March 25th. So
the duck is delicious. A little small, but delicious.
It's a succulent duck. It's a little
the
little
rats of the sky.
Oh, yummy.
But you got to figure they're pretty tender because they just kind of bob around, you know.
Well, and if anybody wonders why you never see pigeon babies, those are the babies. Those are the babies. Chris Weber, your nincompoop, sir.
Back on March 20th, a lady only identified as J.H. in the police documents approached a Wisconsin State Fair Park police officer patrolling the park's exhibition center where she worked and asked for a private conversation. She told officers that roughly 2 to 3 weeks ago, she began suspecting that the beverages on her desk were being contaminated by some sort of substance. She was made aware of the contamination due to a strong chemical smell and taste, and says that upon consumption, she became ill. Moreover, she did not consent to anyone placing anything in her drink. Upon settling those unsettling events, she set up a camera at her desk to record if anyone was putting anything in her drinks. The affidavit then shows that her camera captured 34-year-old Joseph Ross putting a foreign substance into her beverage. She shared the video with officers, which showed him holding a brown and orange tube with a white nozzle and squeezing a liquid substance into the open can of Coca-Cola on her desk. He was also seen wearing latex gloves on both hands as he poured the substance into the can. Officers then executed a search warrant for his office and the surrounding area. As they searched a trash can near his office, they discovered a set of clear protective gloves wadded into a ball. They pulled the gloves apart, found each contaminated with an item. One glove contained a blue plastic cap. The other had a Gorilla Glue super glue container in it.
Oh, wow.
Officers say that Ross admitted that he had placed the supplement, I like how they use that word,
supplement,
into her drink, but he did not reveal his motive for the actions. Authorities also took the can of Coke and sent it to the lab for testing. He was charged with one count of felony placing foreign objects in edibles, which carries a maximum penalty of 3 years and 6 months in jail and a $10,000 fine if he's convicted.
What are you in for, buddy?
How do you explain that? I mean,
hand me that soap.
I want to know. I want to know about her that she's like, it had a strong chemical smell and taste before I consumed it.
But she had to sip it just to be
But
sure.
I went ahead and took a little sippy sip.
It smells like glue.
Reminds me of the, what was it, Alice's restaurant? Alice, what you in for? Littering. They all moved away from me on the bench. There's 50. That's 54 after that. That's Nincompoops in the news. You may vote. 615-737-9986. 615-737-WWTN. That's the Nincompoop segment. The Duggar Band on the way next on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I want to tell you about my friend Shane Ring at Cover Nash. He's located right here in Middle Tennessee in Brentwood, as a matter of fact. He is a local expert when it comes to not only opting into health plans, but also understanding and educating yourself on what plans you have and what you really need versus what you're paying for. It's all about need versus payment. And when you book your appointment with Shane, he's going to go over all of these available health plan options on the market today to help you figure out exactly what coverage you need, what that looks like, what the least expensive options are. You should not pay more when you do not need to pay more. And Shane makes sure that you don't. Don't buy into this idea that you have to wait in order to do this during quote-unquote open enrollment. It's simply not true. You can make switches today by contacting Shane Ring and Cover Nash. I've sat down in his office. I've seen the way he does his business, and I believe in it. It's Cover Nash. Believe in that healthcare coverage that is managed by you, not by the government. That's what all of this is about. 615-465-0023, 465-0023, or covernash.com.
6 o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. We'll tell you more about the level 2 out of 5 risk for severe weather we're facing during the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. Well, stocks ended much higher today after President Trump announced a 90-day pause on tariffs for everyone except China. He also increased the tariff on China to 125%.
Somebody had to do what we did, and I did a 90-day pause for the people that didn't retaliate, because I told them if you retaliate, we're going to double it. And that's what I did with China, because they did retaliate. So we'll see how it all works out. I think it's going to work out amazing. I think that our country is going to be at the end of a year or shorter, but I think we're going to have something that nobody would have dreamt possible.
Here's Whit Johnson with more.
There's still some uncertainty about the end game here. This is a 90-day pause just on those reciprocal tariffs. We still have the 10% baseline tariffs. We're still talking about big tariffs on cars and car parts. And then, of course, China is the massive X factor here. You know, we slapped them with 104% tariffs. Now it's up to 125. They hit the United States with those reciprocal tariffs because of the retaliation there. So there's still a lot of questions about what's going to happen next.
Well, Wall Street responded with massive gains today. The Dow ended up 2,900 or just under 8%. S&P rose 474, just under 10%, and NASDAQ rose 1,800, just over 12%. Trump administration officials now looking into the social media accounts of people trying to get legal residency or student visas here in the U.S. They've directed U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services to act immediately to review these social media contents, and they say that it could be a negative factor when applying for those visas. Here in Tennessee, a bill that would allow permit holders carry shotguns and rifles in public is essentially dead for the year. 3 Republicans, joined Democrats, voted against it in the Senate Judiciary Committee yesterday. And 25 new sounds are being added to the National Recording Registry at the Library of Congress. Here's Mike Dubusky.
New entries to the National Recording Registry range from Elton John's 1973 album Goodbye Yellow Brick Road to Celine Dion's Titanic hit, My Heart Will Go On. But it's not all music. Chuck Thompson's broadcast of Game 7 of the 1960 World Series, and even Microsoft's Windows 95 startup sound, all now a part of the Library of Congress.
That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. Berry Hill, police reporting a crash on the right shoulder, 65 northbound near Armory Drive. And in Madison, police say there's a crash 65 northbound before Old Hickory Boulevard. Over by Belmont, left 2 lanes blocked, 440 westbound past Hillsborough Pike, exit 3 for a crash reported by police. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, here we go. Final hour of the Matt Murphy Show, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Pleased you've joined us. Thank you so much for your time and consideration. Almost 7 minutes past 6 o'clock. A beautiful, as they say, Chamber of Commerce day in Music City. It's been absolutely gorgeous. We needed it. Some nasty weather coming through tomorrow, I believe, and then the weekend, if I've heard the forecast correctly, looks pretty good. So hope you get out and about, get out from in front of the television over the weekend. All right, we're going to turn our attention. I mean, obviously, tariff talk all for the first 3 hours. Big movement in that regard. And, I could go the next, 3 months, the next 90 days not talking about tariffs anymore. But Donald Trump made the big movement. I mean, some are calling it rope-a-dope or the switcheroo, where he was going to tariff a lot of these different countries. He pulled all of those back and kind of exposed China in the way that he planned on doing all along, which is great for the United States of America, great for those negotiations, and great that we're getting other countries to the table. All of that is wonderful and well and good. Coming up just after 6:30, we're going to talk about the Dolly Parton movement that I think we started with regard to the Dolly Parton Airport, or the possibility of the Dolly Parton Airport. She's gotten like 80,000 signatures now, and I'm wondering if our lawmakers are not ready to move on. I mean, why wouldn't we do that? I mean, that's well worth the $10 million. Naming it after Donald J., maybe not so much, given that he doesn't have a lot of local presence here in the state of Tennessee. But Dolly, that's a different story. Speaking of country music, I've been looking forward to this next conversation for, well over a week. We had planned originally to have Duggar Band on with us last week, but the inclement weather, the nasty storms, kept us on weather coverage, and we had to cancel that appearance. But luckily, Seth and Jordan were able to get back into studio, and they join us in the studio. It is Duggar Band. Seth, Jordan, thank you for coming in.
Hey, thanks for having us. Yeah, thank you.
All right, so let's get this out of the way. Is it the Duggar Band or Duggar Band?
Just Duggar Band.
Just Duggar Band,
Simple.
no the.
That's right.
That's good.
Simple.
And you guys are brothers.
Yes, sir.
And we've established during the break that Jordan is the eldest.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah. And it's just you two?
Yes, sir. Just the two of us. Yep.
What in the world got y'all into music? Seth, I guess I'll give you a go. You're the youngest, and I'm partial to the youngest brother. I was telling them about my older brother beating me up all the time. What got y'all two into this?
Man, we grew up in it. Our parents, they were very musical. My dad, he toured with his family doing Southern gospel music whenever he was a kid growing up. And then once he had a family with us, and we kind of got to see them riding on the big bus and touring the Southeast doing Southern gospel with his family. And so that kind of sparked the dream in us. And whenever we got, basically old enough to say some words, I was 4 years old, and Jordan was 7 when we recorded our first record with them. And it just kind of sparked the dream in us, and we just kind of always grew up thinking, hey, we want to be like Dad and do music. And
that's pretty cool.
That's kind of how it worked.
Where was growing up? Where was that?
We grew up in Greenville, Tennessee. It's about an hour northeast of Knoxville. And like Seth said, grew up in a musical family. Our first instruments was pots and pans on the kitchen floor.
That's right.
With
beating and banging.
Wooden spoons and that kind of thing. But, yeah, great place to grow up in Greenville.
And you guys mentioned, while we were kind of getting to know one another during the news, that y'all started out in primarily Christian music?
Yes, sir. Like Seth said, when we were old enough to talk, we were thrown on stage basically in church to sing. And our parents used to tell us that they would never force us to sing, but they would also tell us if we sang in church then they would buy our food afterwards. And if we didn't, then we could buy our own. So since we didn't have any money and we wanted to eat, we chose to sing. So I always had choices.
But we're not forcing
That's
anybody.
right. Yeah, we have a choice.
You got your own choices to make.
Yeah, so we kind of grew up doing
that. Kind of sounds like Donald Trump, the Chinese, and the tariffs. We're not forcing anything, but we're just letting you know.
Yeah, it's just how it is.
Well, talk to me about what that life was like, and what kind of precipitated the switch over to. Look, I think if you do it right, there's not a lot of difference between country music and Christian music anyway. But talk to us about kind of that transition.
Yeah, so we started out doing Christian music. We led worship at our parents' church and a couple campus ministries in college, and we were doing our own shows, selling our own tickets, getting sponsors. And we went to actually Bristol Motor Speedway to ask them to sponsor a show one time, and they in turn asked us if we'd play at the race, which was like a week later. And they said, instead of playing some Christian music, could you play some entertainment, like some country stuff? And we'd always grew up playing country music, but we never performed it before. And so we're like, well, this is a paying gig. We might as well do it. And so our first show ever doing country music was at the Bristol Motor Speedway. And doors
That's a good place to start.
Yeah. And we were on the same stage with Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Jeff Gordon. They were speaking right after us, and we'd never played Wagon Wheel in front of people before.
That was nerve-wracking.
Really nerve-wracking. But doors just started opening with that, and it just kind of fell into it.
Was that a little intimidating being on stage with? Big E would probably be more intimidating, but Little E, that's still that.
Oh man,
yeah,
that's star power, right?
Yeah, it definitely was. It was a donor event, and so it was like 2,000 of the biggest donors to the Speedway, and these guys were there speaking, and we're like, well, there's no pressure with this, right? This is just the biggest supporters of the raceway, and so don't want to mess this up and have people walking out. So it was a lot of pressure, but it was fun. That was our two favorite drivers. I know they were kind of rivals, but that's just who we liked growing up.
Yeah.
And so that was a really cool moment. Our first country show on the same stage as those guys.
When was that?
2013.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
This has been a slow and steady climb, right? What's happened between now and then, right? So 12 years. I can't imagine what life is like making a name for yourself in country music. It has to be more competitive than ever. Mm-hmm. You guys obviously stand out. Your music's great. But what is life like? What is that like on a day-to-day basis?
I think for us, it was, just trying to figure out what kind of music that we wanted to do. And, those doors opened, and we're still involved in church, but it's just more doors started open on the entertainment side of things, and we enjoyed doing that. And around 2015 is when we came to Nashville and tried out for a few of the places to play down on Broadway. And we actually did a tryout at one on a Saturday, and we were on our way back to East Tennessee because we weren't living here yet. And we got a call that they wanted us to come perform. And we're like, oh, it sounds great. And we're expecting hey, a week or two from now or whatever. And I was like, when do you want us to come? And they said, how about tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock? And we're like, well, yeah, we'd love that. But, we don't even have a band down here or nothing. We just come down here, just the two of us. And so we're like, we've got to get some stuff together. And they're like, all right, well, how about next Tuesday? We're like, sure. And so we figured it out by then. And all of a sudden, for us moving to Nashville wasn't a big, decision where it's like, this is the date we're moving. We were staying in a hotel when we were coming to play those shows early on. And it got to a point where an apartment was cheaper than a hotel. So that's when we officially moved. And, since then, it's just been playing a lot of shows. I think for a lot of artists, the whole COVID shutdown thing really, changed a lot of, paths and trajectories through this thing. For us, we went from having almost 200 shows the year before COVID to everything being canceled.
Yeah.
And we kind of went back to East Tennessee for a little while to just be with our family, and then came back, after that was over. And so most country musicians in this town, you hear a 10-year town. I'm sure you've heard it plenty. You're kind of here on an average of that much time before anybody hears about you. And for us, it's almost 10 years to the month that this happened with our song. And it's wild how that kind of worked out. But
so we're talking to Duggar Band, Jordan and Seth, about the recent rise in their popularity and the incredible rise in this song. And it was, I'm not here to cast aspersion, but I just think somewhere along the way somebody made a weird decision, but you look at that silver lining around the dark cloud of the decision making on the part of WSMV. But let's walk into that story a little bit, because y'all were set. I mean, you slowly grew your popularity, folks getting to know you, and you were set to you. Well, let me ask you this before I ask that. At what point? Because I'm just naturally curious. Were you playing covers and writing songs on your own? And then how does that transition work for you guys? Because what I don't know about what y'all do would fill, volumes of books. But, I mean, is it just a slow process where you start writing your own songs and you start incorporating those into the sets?
Yeah, so I think we moved to town and, our focus is make a living. And so you got to go to Broadway. For us, our story, you go to Broadway, you earn enough money to pay your bills. And that really taught us a lot about how to play our instruments, a lot of how to entertain a crowd. And playing 6 to 7 hours a night taught us, what does a hit song sound like? And so you play that over and over and over, night in, night out. It kind of teaches you a lot about writing. And, you come with the knowledge, knowing we need to write, we need to produce our own stuff. And so you kind of do a little bit of that, go back to playing Broadway to make a living. And then I think when COVID happened, we released a few records before COVID. But when COVID happened, we really focused a lot on writing. And we got 2 or 3 records out of that writing during the COVID shutdown. And so I think making that transition it's really important. It's hard because, getting on Broadway and making a living down there, it can be kind of addicting because you need the money to survive. But if you can just make that step to making your own music and making your own name for yourself, that's really the path that we definitely wanted to go down.
I mean, was it a discussed did y'all have conversations about what y'all wanted to be in terms of your own music and your own style? I mean, was that something that y'all needed to talk about, or was there already kind of a brotherly communication going on?
I think we just have kind of evolved over time. I mean, we grew up, like Seth said, listening to country music, listening to Christian music, and then we started just doing things that we liked. So we were just playing music that we liked, and, sometimes we pushed it far one way or another. If you go back and listen to everything we've recorded, there's some that are kind of outliers, like where did that come from? But we were just kind of exploring, seeing what we liked, seeing what people connected with. And, our buddy John Rich said it best, you can have a song that you think is a hit, but the people will tell you whether it is or not. And so I think as we go, we kind of see, hey, the crowd really responded to this. Like, this felt good. This fits us. And so I think I don't know if you ever reach a moment where it's like, this is exactly us. You're kind of like, this is where we're at right now. And, find some things that you continue to carry forward.
And clearly your little brother is the punk of the group. I mean, it's pretty well, for those watching on Talk TV, I mean, it's pretty obvious that you got the country roots and Seth has the punk roots, right? I mean, am I misreading any of this?
I can't get him in a cowboy hat. I know, right? Yeah. And he's not big on plaid either.
But I do play fiddle, so,
Well, that's his country insurance.
Never violin.
Fiddle.
That's right. That's right.
All right, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll take a break, and we'll kind of set this up and talk about the SMV story and then play the song because, True Colors absolutely exploded online. Duggar Band is in studio with us. It's 19 after the hour. We'll be back after this. It's The Matt Murphy Show. Hey, friends, it's Matt Murphy talking about a Save the Date event that we do annually that I get so excited about. It's over at the Glock store, the 5th Annual Nashville Open House. This year, just mark this date down. I know it's down the road. It's May 31st, Saturday, and it's going to be as big as ever, even bigger. I've got details coming as they get finalized, but let's just say this. Last year, they gave over $15,000 worth of items and gear away, including Red Dot Optics. They had 25 of those they gave away. They had flash sales on Glock handguns and sporting rifles. And to top it all off, last year they gave away a customized Glock worth $1,800 just for signing up, just for showing up, saying hello, shaking a few hands, and signing up. Well, this year I'm told that they're going to be giving away not one, but multiple Glocks. So, I mean, look, I love going to the Glock store on regular days. I mean, they've got the best retail space. They've got the Shoot 270 rooms. You never shoot in lanes. You shoot in rooms with an instructor. Chris Hand will be there. Dan Manis will be there. Yours truly, Matt Murphy. We'd love a chance to meet you, to say hello, and gifts galore. Mark it down, 10 to 2 at My Place to Train and My Place to Shoot, the one and only Glock store, minutes away from the airport and worth the drive from anywhere.
President Trump hammering China but rewarding everyone else for good behavior in the tariff war. We'll tell you about that. Give you the day's closing money news at 6:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I didn't know. It sounded different. I just asked a stupid question, and I got a good answer. Hey, it's the Matt Murphy Show, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We're sitting in with Duggar Band, that's Seth and Jordan, talking to them about the music scene and how we got to know them. And really, it's born out of a story that it's a little bit. I don't want to say negative, but it's kind of weird. Is that a fair way to put it, guys?
Yeah, we definitely didn't expect it. I mean, we wrote a song that was wanting to bring people together. We love America, love the United States, and we've always wanted to write a patriotic song, but you always want it to be the perfect storm, because you don't want to write something that's hokey. The nation, to honor the nation, you want to do something that's really good. And so we've never taken a stab at it until this time. And it's just one of those things where, one of our co-writers, he had served in Afghanistan in the mid-2000s, and we just started talking about some of the stuff, some of his stories and what it was like. And another guy that we were writing with threw out the idea of True Colors, was like, that sounds like a perfect patriotic song. And it's just one of those things where it seemed like God just threw the lyrics down and it just wrote itself, And it's just, it was a really cool experience.
All right, so let's kind of tell the front end story, and then Chris will let me know if I have time to do the song or not. I think probably what we'll do is tell the story and then do the song right after the news break. But So y'all got invited to be on local TV on Today in Nashville, WSMV. Great folks, great show, yada, yada, yada. Nobody's knocking necessarily anybody, although I don't understand some of the decision making. Just walk us through that process, y'all. I got to be excited.
Yeah,
right. Yeah, it was our first time supposed to appear on that television show, and we've done TV things other places, but that was one of the kind of first big shows we were doing here in Nashville, and we were excited about that because there's a lot of industry people that could potentially see it, and so we were excited to play with our full band our new song, which we had released at the end of January, and we had sent the song about a week ahead of time, and so they had it that amount of time. And then about 36 hours before the show, they said they were excited to have us, but we needed to choose a different song to play instead of True Colors.
And what was your reaction?
Well, first we were kind of taken aback by it because we were like, why? Do they think, because they said it was politically biased, and they said that they didn't promote anything politically biased on their show. They wanted to keep it, all neutral. And we were like, well, I don't understand how a song about loving America is considered politically biased. And so we immediately was like, well, if you can't let us play the song that we're pushing, who we are, we love the United States. This is our song. If we can't play it, then we don't want to play any song. And so we refused to do the show.
All right, so this decision may have changed your life, man, and I think you probably know that because, I mean, it would have flabbergasted me just having heard the song. I mean, it's certainly patriotic, and I suppose that there are people that are in America that aren't, but that's their problem, not our problem.
Right, yeah.
So what was the? I mean, were they? That had to be a big decision. I mean, because you're right, Jordan. You play a show, a television show like that, and you have no idea who's watching you. You have no idea what opportunity that might open up. Was it a hard thing to say no?
I think it was. I mean, it's a big decision. I think the decision was easy because we want to stand for what we stand for, even if that means maybe not getting some exposure in certain areas. And, that's what the decision came down to. And thankfully we had a great friend in John Rich to lean on, and we gave him a call. We were up in East Tennessee playing cornhole with our family because we try to be up there on Mondays, and that gives us a time to kind of unplug from
Who's better, by the way?
Seth has more wins this year, but I'm better at a few other sports, so I'll give him cornhole for now. But I'm working on a new technique. I'm doing overhand instead of underhand.
Overhand?
Yeah,
shooting like a basketball.
I've just been trying.
He's a basketball guy growing up. I guess so.
I mean, I haven't seen too many people do it, but I was a basketball player, so it just feels better to me.
Okay.
So yeah, we're just trying it out. But yeah, we were just up there playing with our family, and coming back to Nashville the next day to get ready for that show and some other things that we had going on. And we got the email, and, we had a family around us, and we were talking about it with them. And then we called John, who was on spring break with his family. And he was like, man, he said, let me call you. We need to talk about this. And so having those people around us really helped us make the decision. And, we had to make that decision knowing that, we could probably never be on that show, if we decided to cancel because of not being able to do our song. But, something that we decided is, if it takes compromising who we are to get some type of exposure, we're not going to do it. It's not worth it to us. And we know that God is bigger than anything, and he can open doors in other places if some close that are in front of us. So we just had that faith and confidence, and I felt, good about the decision. And, obviously, if you could see into the future, you would feel really good about the decision. But at the time, we didn't know what was going to happen. We just knew that we were going to take a stand for what we felt was right.
And just to kind of complete this story, and we'll take a break and we'll play the song and we'll talk about it afterwards. But How did the folks over there react? Were they surprised that y'all kind of gone, or just say, okay, thanks very much, and move on from it? Or
it's funny because we told our publicist that we didn't want to do the show.
Our publicist at the time,
yeah, and
she still wanted us to do the show, and so we had to figure some things out.
She asked us what song we were going to switch to, and we were like, no, we're not switching songs. And so we, under our own, John, we talked to John about it, asked his opinion. He told us to read the email and let our fans know. Talk and X the following morning on Tuesday morning. Never forget it. And we read the letter, read the email word for word what they said, and explained to the fans why we weren't doing the show. And we posted it, and man, it just started taking off. It just exploded. And there's so many people that just threw in their support and had our backs. And we were trying to respond to comments at first. We'd get one response done and then hit send, refresh, 10 more comments. Hit one more, 10 more. And we just couldn't keep up with it.
Yeah. That's a good feeling to have.
Yeah.
It's a much worse feeling to do something like that and you just look there 3 days later and it's nothing.
Oh, yeah.
That's that.
But everybody just had our back so much, and we've just been so blessed from
All right, we get to hear the song in a minute. This is a professional radio tease, y'all. So the song True Colors coming up. Duggar Band's in studio with us, Seth and Jordan. We'll be back in a moment right after the news on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Everyone in Middle Tennessee, we're under a level 2 out of 5 risk for severe weather. We got the deets during the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. Stocks ended much higher today after President Trump announced a 90-day pause on tariffs for everyone except China. Then he increased the tariff on China to 125%.
Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, everybody knew you had to do it, but they never had the guts to do it. It does take guts. It even takes guts for our country to go through it. That's why I say be cool. They were saying about, see, just be cool. It's going to work out. It's going to work out, and it's working out. I can tell you, working out maybe faster than I thought.
Here in Tennessee, a bill to allow open carry permits for long guns like shotguns and rifles is essentially dead for the year. 3 Republicans sided with Democrats to vote it down in the Senate Judiciary Committee yesterday. Lawmakers have passed a bill that suspends a minor teenager's driving privileges for a year if they bully or cyberbully others. Now it's headed to Governor Lee to sign into law. Money news.
U.S. stocks surged today. Investors reacted to President Trump temporarily backing off on some tariffs, even though he kept a minimum 10% tariff across the board, left intact 25% tariffs on cars, steel, and aluminum, and increased tariffs on Chinese imports to 125%. The Dow soared nearly 8%, adding 2,963 points. The S&P gained 474, and the Nasdaq exploded, surging over 12%. Adding more than 1,800 points. Global markets also soaring on Trump's tariff retreat. Inflation threats posed by those tariffs still in place may still worry the Federal Reserve. According to minutes from last month's policy meeting, officials from the central bank's interest rate setting committee said they will keep interest rates unchanged for now. Microsoft is slowing its artificial intelligence projects, halting a $1 billion data center construction project in Ohio.
That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. All right, Berry Hill, we see police still reporting that crash on the right shoulder, 65 northbound near Armory Drive. And here in Nashville, Smith Springs Road, east of Ned Shelton Road, police reporting a crash there. Looks like northbound 65 is pretty heavy in between 440 and the South Loop downtown, and just regular brake tapping in the usual places this time of day trying to get home. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
So you reach a certain age and you're tired of going through the drive-throughs and you want to kind of up that food game, right? So instead of buying the brown meat, you buy some nice fresh meat and you're cooking it on the grill and you're doing it at home and maybe you got a family going on. Well, are you upping the spice game along with that? Because if you up the food game, you don't up your spice game. I don't think you're doing it right. You up the spice game at Savory Spice. Located just off the square in Franklin. They're locally owned. Holly and David love what they do. And what they do is provide you fresh spices at the lowest possible cost for any and all of your food needs. And they've got all kind of mixes. I mean, the chefs already know, right? They go in there for the exotic stuff, the international stuff, or just to restock. They got great seasonings. They've got this Spice and Easy line. The Duggar band's looking at me right now, and I know that they could use this because they don't know their way around a kitchen. But Spice and Easy, everything's already pre-done for you. And on the back of the package, it tells you exactly what to buy at the grocery store, exactly how to fix it, and when to put in the spices, and off you go. Oftentimes, it's crock pot cooking, and that's good stuff. So Spice and Easy line can be found at Savory Spice, and Savory Spice can be found in the heart of Franklin, just off the square. Remember, you up your food game, up in your spice game. You up your spice game, Savory Spice. Just earlier this week, I sat down with Dr. Stephen Poss and Dr. Brian McLaughlin of the Sleep Apnea and TMJ Solution Center. Kind of revisited my story when it came to Dr. Poss. You know, I'd been talking about Dr. Poss for a long time. Never occurred to me that I might have sleep apnea because I don't really snore that much. Dr. Poss, I talked to him a little bit about, just feeling lethargic and low energy. He asked me about getting up in the night, whether I woke up in the night. He said, Matt, I think you got sleep apnea. I said, I don't snore, doc. He goes, well, I might want to get checked. Well, it turns out I was one of the 25% of American males. You don't snore that much, but you have sleep apnea. You stop breathing during the night. Did you know? And I was never going to wear a CPAP machine, ever. Did you know that there is a device, FDA approved? It's an oral device made by Dr. Poss and Dr. McLaughlin. You put it in your mouth, it holds the jaw forward, and all you do is you sleep better. It holds your mouth open in a way where you don't notice it, but you are breathing throughout the course of the night. And it is covered by your insurance. Go to drposs.com, that's drposs.com, to find out more about the incredible device provided by the Sleep Apnea and TMJ Solution Center. Once again, it's Dr. Poss, drposs.com. All right, final hour of the show, ongoing. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Thanks for being around. Thanks to Jordan and Seth Duggar for stopping by in studio for the last hour, talking about, it's just been a meteor, just like a meteor's rise to fame and fortune for the Duggars. Y'all said y'all are you're locally. You're in MJ, Mount Juliet.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Oh, that's God's country out there, right?
Yeah, man.
I mean, I'm sure you've seen the Charlie Daniels mural and all that.
I'm a fiddle player, so Charlie Daniels is one of my idols. So I loved it. That's one reason, when I moved to Mount Juliet, I was like, yes, this is Charlie Daniels' place.
That's exactly right.
So maybe a little bit of that rub off on me.
Oh, I love it. I absolutely love it. How would you describe the music that y'all do? I mean, I know you get this question a million times, but how'd you describe it?
Well, I think there's a big focus on our family harmony. We both sing lead, and so, we're able to switch off and take turns with that. And, Seth's, one of his first instruments was fiddle, and mine's guitar, and we grew up in the Appalachian Mountains, and so that kind of music and, just being around a lot of kind of bluegrass and mountain music, that had a big influence on us. And so, we definitely like modern stuff, but we also have a lot of those classic country elements in our music. And and like to focus on that. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of fiddle, and here recently a lot of steel guitar in our stuff, and so we're excited to continue exploring that. And music's a journey, and we just keep going down this road.
All right, we'll talk a little further about it after we listen to it. This is the song in question. It's hot. I mean, it like rose to, it's number one on like a lot of the downloadable services, right?
Yeah, it went to number one all genre on iTunes. And so,
heck yeah.
Yeah, we woke up and just somebody texted us and said, hey, dude, you're like at number 2 right now. Looked at it, and just a couple hours later, it went up to number 1. I was like, wow, this is insane.
Have y'all sent WSMV one of them edible bouquets or something like that yet? Because they deserve something for their bad decision making. Let's listen to True Colors. It's Duggar Band on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. There it is, True Colors, Duggar Band, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. That takes me back to my old DJ days, when songs fading out, you just get on in there. I want to give the weather forecast and all that kind of stuff. That's a great tune.
Thanks, man.
And you never, that's a patriotic song. I almost said anthem because that's the word that kind of came to mind. But I'm having a hard time understanding what's political about it.
Yeah, that's the same thought we had, and we never were given a specific part of the song that they found to be crossing the line, so we still don't know either.
But here's the aftermath is that I guarantee you that right now people want to know all across Middle Tennessee how do they get that tune? And I'm assuming it's available anywhere you can download music right now?
Yes, sir. Yeah. iTunes, Amazon, anywhere that you can download music. It helps us a lot. Helps us out the most if you download it and then stream it like on Spotify. And so, but however you consume music, just go give it a listen and just share it with all your friends. That helps us a lot.
What sort of door? I mean, you already had a great relationship with John Rich, and what a great guy for y'all to know. I mean, he's a great man, great human being, great songwriter, great all-around country music artist, but even a better guy.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got to be a great mentor for y'all.
For sure. And he's just accomplished so much in the music industry, but just a great business guy. I mean, he's just really smart and just a great friend. I mean, he's done so much just to help us that he definitely didn't have to do. And we just respect him a lot and everything he's accomplished, but just the kind of human he is. And it'd have been tough to navigate, especially the last few weeks without his help. So we're definitely very appreciative to him.
I saw somebody last week, and it was completely unrelated to all of this. And it was Lee Beeman, who's a huge fan of y'all's. And Lee was like, "You got to get these guys on the show." I said, "They're coming on the show, Lee." And he was like, "No, really?" I was like, "Yeah, really." And so, I mean, but he loves you guys, and he's just a big fan of y'all's as well. So what's next? I mean, what is this? I mean, what is this like? I mean, what kind of reactions? And I got to feel like there's some windows and doors swinging open.
Oh yeah, I mean, it was a huge surprise to us to go to number one this quickly, and it's just been a lot of big doors have opened. God's just doing incredible things. You know, you have plans, and the Bible talks about how you can plan for your own self, but God's plans are much bigger than yours. And this is one of those case in point. Like, this was something that we thought that week would be a certain thing, and it blew up into something that was just mind-blowing for us. And so there's lots of doors that are opening. We got so much stuff that's coming down the pike, and we've got a lot of announcements to make, but hopefully we'll start rolling some of that stuff out here soon.
But we'll be keeping up. We'll be checking in, man. And so there had to be a moment, and well, maybe not. I mean, maybe there don't have to be a moment, but, you know, after you've made the decision, you've consulted, you've talked to JR, you talked to other people, I'm sure, family or whatever, but there had to be a time where you looked at one another and was like, "Are we screwing up here? Is this a stupid move?" I mean, was there ever that moment?
Man, we were sitting at dinner with our family that Monday night when this happened, and we're like, "Well, here's what we're going to do," and we're like, "We'll come back next week and see how it went. You know, what happened?" And you know, like you said, it could have just not been anything besides some of our fans just understand why we didn't go on the show, but you know, I think that, you know, we felt confident, and we've got to stand up for who we are and stay true to our character. And, you know, if that means not getting something to go a certain way that we would hope it would go, then that's fine. But like Seth said, you know, our plan was to go on and play the show, get exposed to however many people were exposed to through playing that show. And God's plan was to take something that looked bad for us, and he opened up so many more doors, and there's just been so much more exposure than we would have ever imagined waking up that Monday morning before all this happened. And so, you know, I think it's just important to stay true to who you are, and having a friend like John, you know, he said at the end of the day, after we're finished with this life, basically, like, did you stay true to who you are? You know, did you just go through life trying not to hurt anybody's feelings or be scared to stand up for who you are? Or did you take a stand and make an impact on people's lives, hopefully for the positive? And, you know, after seeing the response from people, I just hope that just like people like John Rich has encouraged us and to stand up for what we believe in, I hope that other artists, especially in this town, will stand up for it as well. And I would love to hear some more patriotic songs. I hope some other artists start cranking them out. There's a lot of great ones in the past, but we need some new ones, man. So people keep writing them.
You're exactly right. I mean, Jordan, you said a mouthful. I mean, you know, I think Leonard Skinner's Simple Man is not about being a simpleton. It's about being true to yourself and about being who you are and respecting other people and just keeping it simple. Life can get really complicated, but if you're true to yourself, it can get really simple. Really
that's
quick.
right. Yeah.
And that's great stuff. How can people find out about you? I mean, is there a website? What do we do?
Yeah, so follow us. It's DuggerBand.com. That's DUGGERBAND.com. You can find us on any social media. Just search Dugger Band. We'll probably pop up. So just keep up with us.
And if you're wondering which one's Seth and which one's Jordan, Seth is the fella in the leather jacket.
That's right.
Is that right?
Yeah, with the,
and Jordan
skinned head.
And Jordan's the guy in the cowboy hat.
That's
You
right.
can't get him in a cowboy hat?
Man, I've a time or two, a music video one time, and then
You whoop up on him when he was a kid?
Yeah, and I stopped. The 3.5 year age difference. There was a time where we were about the same size, and we used to fight when we were kids. And then I took my growth spurt, and he hadn't yet. And I remember one particular time I had. I never punched him in the face. That was kind of our thing. Like we might hit him in the shoulder.
Don't punch me in the face, man. Come on.
Can I give you the number to my brother Brian and let him know that he didn't get the memo not to punch me in the face.
That was an unwritten rule.
I was like, man, we might be on stage one day. His face needs to look decent. And
Don't punch me in the face.
But I remember one particular time I had him down and just wearing him out, at least in his arms or whatever, and he started crying, and that messed with me. And I was like, man, I can't do this no more. I'm too big. And so we waited till he grew up a little bit more, and then we had a few more after that. But
he calmed down after that.
Yeah. It was mainly putting him up to stuff that would get him in trouble or maybe get him hurt.
Well, y'all have had a tremendous reaction. I got a little stream going on here that we call the Super Talks text stream, and a lot of people are just wishing y'all well and saying that they absolutely love it. Look, none of this would matter. Like the backstory, none of this would matter if it's not a great tune.
Thank you.
And it is a great tune, bottom line. So
really appreciate that.
Congratulations on the success.
Thanks again for having us on, man. This was a lot of fun.
Here's Duggar Band. We'll be back and wrap things up in just a moment. 51 after the hour on Super Talk. All right, so fellas, half the guys in the listening audience, you're going to experience some sort of testosterone loss over the course of your life. And for a lot of guys, it can manifest itself in not wanting to go to the gym anymore. It can happen in the bedroom. With your significant other, your wife or your romantic partner. And if any of these things are happening to you, guys, men wait too long to deal with this issue, right? And so what I'm here to tell you is that Tennessee Men's Clinic is here for you. If you're ready, they're ready. They're qualified urologists, are professional and discreet. They'll get you in. They'll talk to you. There's no shame in this game. They're going to fix what ails you with regard to your T levels or whatever might be going on in your life. All you need to do is go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com to find out more information. That's TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. They have two locations. One's in Franklin, Cool Springs. Great location over there. And the other, the OG in Midtown. Go by and see these guys. If you have any issues, let's handle this today, man. Tennessee Men's Clinic. Give them a call at 615-208-9090. 208-9090 for the Tennessee Men's Clinic. Super Talk 99.7 WTN winding down a lively day. Thanks to Mayor Glenn Jacobs, Knox County Mayor Glenn Jacobs, a.k.a. Kane, for stopping by via phone at 3:30 or so. We appreciate him. Cameron Smith of the Tennessean in the 5 o'clock hour, and Duggar Band in the 6 o'clock hour. What a great story for these fellas. And a lot of you saluting the Duggar Band. Let's see. Ask the guys who I can – Oh, yeah, that's pretty good. Hey, Matt, ask the guys, who can I submit my demo tape to WSMV so I can get declined too? And that's exactly, well, you know, I mean, it's the Lord works in mysterious ways, and that's a pretty great story. And look, once again, nobody knows, how that process is made. It reminded me, and I was telling the Duggar guys, it reminded me a little of this Sevierville story. Where, they set up these policies, and I understand that the policies are probably set up for a good reason. Hey, we don't want overtly political stuff. We don't want to introduce all of that or whatever. And, in Sevierville, the flag story with Camping World, I kind of understand if they want a policy where they don't have any flagpoles over 40 feet in their town. Okay, that's fine. But the way all of that happened with Camping World, you took the Camping World money, you took those tax dollars that Camping World generates, you know how Camping World operates, and then at the last minute you decide, no, American flag. And then what kind of PR do you think you're going to get saying, no, we don't want anything unsightly blocking our views? The American flag's unsightly now, and now you're stuck in a box and you can't get out of it. And that's the way I feel about the WSMV folks. But look, I think that they have probably more than anybody seen the era of those ways. On the Dolly Parton front, I mentioned, I feel like we championed this issue. I'm not going to break my back getting in front of this parade, but I will say this. We said at the time that the lawmaker introduced a plan to rename the Nashville airport Donald J. Trump Airport, that you don't need to name it Donald J. Trump Airport. You need to name it Dolly Parton Airport. There is now a petition online trying to encourage the General Assembly, and I think it's got like 80,000 signatures and growing, to rename Nashville International Airport Dolly Parton International Airport. And you don't even have to change. I mean, you wouldn't want to change BNA anyway, but you don't even have to change that. It's Big Natural Airport. Right? Is that?
I suppose you could do that. Yeah.
I mean,
it's fitting.
I mean, it's a suggestion. I'm not saying it's a good one, but it's a suggestion. We're back tomorrow for a Thursday edition. Until then, have a wonderful evening. Hug your loved ones. So long, everybody.